All right, everyone, and welcome to round 12 of the Davy Dak fights. I can't believe we've had a dozen of these things already, but obviously we had a crazy chapter this week, so I'm excited to get into it. But I'm welcoming I'm D King this week. I'm sure you all know him already. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Happy to be here. Looking forward to this very fun discussion about this new chapter because we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Oh man, I mean, it like we were saying right before we started the stream, man. Like I lucked out getting you this week with all these
What
craziness
a
going on.
chapter.
Yeah, man. So I'm really looking forward to it. So I guess I'll just start off just by asking your general thoughts, like about the chapter, and maybe the most pertinent question everyone's wondering is like, is Emu Lily, or what your thoughts are on that. So let's just start with that.
Right. So is Emu Lily? I think to me, initially, like when we first find out about Lily, the way it was introduced, I think a lot of people's first thoughts, including mine, was that wait a minute, hold on, is Lily actually Emu? Because the way they introduced it was like there's 19 swords, the Nefertari family were the only family that were gone, and then of course we know about Emu being the person that actually sits on the throne, and then of course like Emu's always kind of had this image of potentially being a female as well. So that was I
Yeah.
feel like the first thought that came into a lot of people's minds. But like as we read more and more about it and how Lily has passed on this message that clearly contains a hint about the will of deed that Cobra is now found out about and is now asking questions, and how the Nefertari family is clearly an ally for Joy Boy in the Ancient Kingdom, given that the fact that they have the poneglyph and of course the symbols, their symbol being like a sun, kind of similar to some of the other countries that are allied with the Ancient Kingdom and Joy Boy, like the Minx and Wano in general. I think it's pretty clear that it's like a red herring that Emu is Lily, and then instead, I think the thing I really locked into is Lily is most likely a parallel to the current Vivi. So that was really the thing that I locked into, and me and my chat started discussing. And like, so like, what is that potentially parallel? Does that mean like, like Vivi, she was just trying to stop bloodshed, and that's how she kind of ended up in the middle of like being an ally of Joy Boy, but also the Great Kingdom at the same time. Then we started looking at like, Emu looking at the pictures, and like eventually, Emu had cut up pictures of Blackbeard, Shirahoshi, and Luffy, right? And then that could be at first we kind of interpreted it as like, oh, does Emu want Vivi? Because Vivi was the picture in the end that Emu was holding as they went up, right? So it was like, oh, is Emu like actually going after Vivi? So is Vivi in danger? But now we have potentially another perspective that, Lily actually betrayed Emu and then ended up switching sides. So then now Emu is just looking at this picture of Vivi saying like, oh wow, you look exactly like Lily, and it's more of like a reminiscent thing, and instead of like oh, she has something that I want. So I think
Yeah.
the whole Lily is Emu is like a red herring to throw us off. But in actuality, like the story of Lily and the personality of Lily, I think is gonna be very reflective of Vivi when we found out about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like you started off by saying, Lily should be a parallel of Vivi in some way, and Vivi
Yeah.
is the complete opposite of someone who would do what Emu's doing, right? So,
Hmm.
so right off the bat, I'm with you. It's a red herring, or at least like if Emu is Lily, Lily's like possessed or something, right? So
Yeah.
something in that. It's not actually
Hmm.
Lily, right? So yeah, I'm with pretty much everything you just said. And one of the main things that was actually texted to me by one of my buddies, like the second the chapter, like I finished my reaction, was was it Nefertiti? I always get it confused, but I think it's Nefertiti. Whatever god, whatever ruler of Egypt is tied to
Hmm.
Vivi and everything. They were like the first rulers to switch them to like monotheism under the sun disk. So it's like right
Hmm.
there you have a tie where like whatever whoever this connection, if it's Lily or whatever the situation is with Lily, it could tie into like, well, Emu is like a single god, monotheism, and then we have the sun god with Luffy, and that also ties to Alabasta, where the issue in Alabasta was obviously there was no rain, there was too much
Yeah.
sun, you could say, too much sun, not enough water,
Mm.
and so an idea that Hidden Island and I were talking about last night, and so anyone who saw my members only video probably knows a little bit of this, but like what if what if the parallel or the inversion here is that there was no sun and too much rain or too much water, right? As in, you know, Emu, if they are the sun god, or like, I shouldn't say they are the actual sun god, but they have sun powers or something to do with the sun. Like, did they block out the sun and then there's like a flood or something? Or like, you know, how does this tie together? Because in Crocodile's introduction, I don't know if you heard about this yet, but he's introduced with a white lily. Right, like,
oh snap! I didn't catch that yet.
Yeah. When Sanji is talking to him, like, because he's on Little Garden pretending to be Mr. 3. Whenever they're talking, it shows like a silhouette of Crocodile, and he has like one single white lily in a glass of water. It's a whole big panel just with the lily. So, you know, for me, it's just solidifying that there has to be an Alabasta parallel here, even just beyond the Lily Vivi thing. It's got to be like, what Alabasta went through is some kind of connection, you know. So
especially given Alabasta is like the first big arc after they get into the Grand Line, right? And then back then, even I'm not sure, like, in terms of Oda's planning, how much he was thinking about the story expanding, because initially he didn't think the story was gonna be that long, right? So I think Alabasta in particular, you really have to think about, like, he had probably like a lot of end game stuff in mind when he was planning that arc out, which is why Vivi, you know, is already becoming such a critical character, kind of paralleling Lily here as well.
Yeah, and you think about the ancient weapons, right? Like, they were introduced in Alabasta too, right? And that was Crocodile's whole thing. Like, let me get a weapon that can destroy the world is basically the idea there. And so, you know, connecting to Emu, and Emu apparently can have giant beams come from the sky and destroy islands, right? It's like, did Emu have like something on the world where, like, you know, listen to me or I'll just destroy it? You know, I don't know exactly, like, very loose idea, but because, you know, Vivi, obviously her thing is like, she like cried to the sky and stopped all the fighting and brought the rain down, which is what people wanted. And I'm just wondering, like, maybe Emu did the same thing, but no one knew that Emu like caused it in the first place. For example, what if it was all dark, there was no sun, and everyone's fighting, and then Emu, like, after the Void Century, brings the sun back, and everyone's like, finally. Then Emu's like, you're welcome, you know, it was me, and like, no one knows better, right? Something like, I mean, Emu obviously is like hidden from the world, so the Gorosei would do it, but, you know, there's a lot of parallels there. Like, I don't know exactly. I've been trying to rack my brain since I read the chapter, like, you know, what is Oda cooking? There's like a million different parallels or inversions here, so.
Yeah, and the biggest question I think we were discussing for a while is, given that, like, we believe that Lily is not Emu, then who exactly is Emu, right? And like, immediately people were talking about potentially like a love triangle going on with Emu, Joy Boy, and Lily. Maybe it's not as likely because One Piece has never been a story quite like that. But like, you know, like, if it's an outside character, then like the question really becomes like why these 20 kingdoms came together in the first place to band together against the ancient kingdom. What that purpose was. Is it like a master manipulator somehow was able to gather all of these people together? And if so, what was like the banding reason? Was it really just like, hey, they have too much power and we need to take them down? And if it's really that, then like, how did they end up taking control after? Then we thought about maybe it's a story of like, it's like Lily's brother or something like that, right? We know a younger brother eventually takes over Alabasta down the line, but is there an older brother that initially, you know, kind of switched to the other side? So like, I think the Emu question was the one we were really discussing, trying to figure out the most outside of the Lily discussion.
Yeah, and I think one maybe linchpin to all this would be Koza, right? Because in Alabasta, that's probably the equivalent of this younger brother that took over. Because Koza isn't a brother, but like, he's almost more like a husband at this point, right? He's like very closely tied to Vivi, like since they were kids, right? And right now, you know, Cobra died, and Vivi hasn't been seen for like a month to people, right? Like, they don't, like, she's missing according to the papers. So, and I actually was saying, I had a whole video pretty much on this where there's a power vacuum in Alabasta right now. Like, we haven't seen it. Oda hasn't shown us, but there has to be. And we even, I mean, like, even with Crocodile, that was like sort of the thing, is like, remember, like, Mr. 2 pretended to be Cobra and was like going around like having, you know, the soldiers kill people basically, right? It's like super messed up. And it's like right now, like there's probably a lot of mayhem like that going on. Like no one knows who the real leader is right now or whatever, right?
Oh.
And I think Koza has to be the answer here. And so that ties to maybe there's a parallel here, and maybe that's why Oda hasn't shown us Alabasta yet. Because Koza is like a leader type character. Like I feel like of all the ships in One Piece, I feel like Koza and Vivi to me is like one of the most guaranteed. Like Oda's gonna show us them being king and queen of Alabasta someday, right?
Yeah.
And so I could see Koza stepping up, like, everyone stop, like our queen's coming back. Like I'm you know, and they probably make him the de facto leader, but he probably like forces the issue, like his rebel forces or whatever that he used to have.
Yeah.
They probably like take control, like, guys, like, we gotta stop. You know, we gotta. And then so that builds to the connection of like Lily, like, you know, Vivi hasn't made it home from the Reverie. Lily never made it home from leaving the, you know, Marijois originally. So how does that all tie together? You know, I don't know yet, but
yeah, it's an interesting question, like, because man, like, yeah, Alabasta, you gotta just like think about like, oh, the Reverie happened and all of a sudden like our king's dead and our queen's just disappeared out of nowhere.
Shaka and Pell also aren't there.
True, like they're not there either, and it's like Koza has to be the one taking over. Like you say, he kind of already has some sway within the people and the manpower to kind of rein it together as well. Where do you think like Vivi goes after this? I feel like Elbaf is the answer, because there's always the connection in the first place, the little garden, when she was there in the first place, right? So she was with the Straw Hats when they were at Little Garden and found out about Elbaf in the first place, and with Dory and Bragi already confirmed to be there, that's another kind of reunion that could take place. I'm just wondering, like, is that the place she ends up like meeting Saul, finding out more answers herself? Because she's really starting to seem like more and more of a critical role in this final saga, in terms like when it's all said and done, it feels like she's really the person to kind of be the politician, right, of the Straw Hats and like spread the news.
Yes,
I mean, the revolutionaries obviously are gonna play a huge role in that, and they want to like overturn and turn a new leaf for the government. But like Vivi, like having so much connection, not only with her father getting involved here, and also some history, like personal history connected to the ancient kingdom here, it really feels like she's gonna be the one in the end to, like she did in Alabasta, like give the news and win the people over and kind of turn a new leaf. So it feels like she's the arrow's starting to, the focus is starting to really get back on her, even though we've only seen her just with Big News Morgans recently.
Man, I love everything you just said. It's like you just threw me like the perfect alley-oop to start cooking a little bit. And I guess I'll say a couple things real quick before I say anything. Is a lot of you might already know this, but D King is also a big basketball fan, Celtics fan.
Yes, sir.
And we talk about basketball all the time here. So if anyone in the chat has some thoughts about the playoffs they want to share, feel free to.
Someone said Nuggets in 4 earlier.
hey, that's my guy. Whoever said that's my guy.
Good.
It probably won't happen if I'm being completely honest, but I'm saying it anyway. I'm manifesting. You know, I don't want LeBron. LeBron down 3-1's a dangerous thing. I know it firsthand, being a Cavs fan. So, but also Growth Stonks. I saw your super chat. I will get back to that in just a minute. I just want to kind of cook a little bit about what you were just saying, But yeah, man, there's a lot connecting to what you're just saying. So I'm going to lead off with the thing you said about Vivi showing up in Elbaf, and that's where she's going to meet up with the crew, because the crew is her one safe place right now. That's the reason for that. But I think Elbaf is the absolute perfect place for many different reasons. But the main one is, as you probably have heard a million times by now, Egghead is a lot like Saba Odi, right? And so we, you know, whatever this incident is, who knows what it's going to be, but it's going to be important. And the Straw Hats are probably going to need to escape, you know, kind of like Saba Odi. It might be like a last second thing, whatever. But the main thing is, in pre-time skip, what was the arc right after that? It was Amazon Lily, right? And now I'm sure you've heard the Amazon Lily connection to Lily, Nefertari Lily, right? And maybe there's something there with like the love triangle you brought up. Maybe that's how that all ties in. Well, that's the thing, is Amazon Lily's supposed to be the next arc. And so Elbaf, we have to have Elbaf at some point. And it being after Egghead to me is the only option. I can't see another. I can't see another island in between. I just can't. So once we get there, it would make sense that then Vivi, or like the parallel to Lily, would then show up, right? And also Morgan's has a flying ship, so like getting there is not a problem. And then and then you're talking, you mentioned like, you know, basically like there's loosely, you know, Vivi might update them on the information or like reveal some kind of secrets that she found out, something. Well, in Amazon Lily, what did we find out there? Well, a lot of stuff actually about like the slaves in Marijois and all that, and all that kind of stuff, which is extremely important. But even beyond that, we also learned that Ace is getting executed and that we have to leave. We learned something from the papers. And who's she with? Literally Morgan's the guy who writes the papers. And so does Vivi pull up with Morgan's? They have like some kind of discussion, and she like it's probably like a dope like 3-chapter thing where they're just, it's kind of like when Shaka, like we got to Egghead and Shaka's like, let me tell you about the Void Century, and then Vegapunk's like, let me tell you about Devil Fruits. It's probably gonna be like that. And but that's where Vivi's gonna meet back up with the crew. Everyone's gonna find out like that's what happened, like, and then they're all gonna say like, I knew Saba was a good guy. I mean, I think they've already kind of said that kind of stuff, but you know, it's like, man, like that's my brother, you know. So like I can just see like a cool little sentimental thing. But that just lines up to where just it's Elbaf's almost like a moment to like calm down. Like it's gonna be calm down, get
some information.
Like maybe not us calm down. Like we're gonna be pumped the whole time, but the crew can relax. They're like with friends. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not gonna be getting attacked. Maybe until like later on. Like maybe Kid will come back. We don't have to talk about Kid, but you know, but maybe something will happen. But yeah, man, I'm totally with you. Vivi's got to pull up soon. I'm definitely Team Vivi. So. I don't know. Yeah,
I'm excited. And it's like the perfect callback to her last message as well, saying like one day we're going to reunite. Will you accept me? Like it's just been all lined up.
Yep. And I don't know if you heard this idea, but you know how like the crew had X's on their hands to show they're friends with Vivi without actually saying it? Of course. What if those were D's back in the day with Lily, and that's like what the will of D is, right?
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Like, it's funny because I think someone either sent it to me on Discord or super chatted me, but then I said it before they even said it, so like we mind roped on it. So I was like, okay, maybe that is a really good idea if we both thought of it without, you know, influencing each other. So I really like it. I don't know, like where I would take that. Like what? Like why did they choose a D? You know, I don't know why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that idea because it also kind of ties to like. Lily's name isn't said anywhere, and it's like Vivi and the Straw Hats couldn't say they were friends, right? Like, there's no record of them being friends, and that's the point, right? Like if there was a record, that'd be bad, right? They don't want one, and so there's like a little thing there too. So yeah, I don't know. Cobra this chapter, man, going crazy.
He was. I thought, I was like, is he actually gonna give us something more? Because, like, you know, we knew Cobra was going to ask questions about, like, Pluton and poneglyphs. But then when you dropped the information about the D clan and the letter, I was like, oh, okay. We're actually getting some real teases here. And then Lily, of course, the Lily information dropped. So that was real exciting. Do you think we're actually going to get, like, more information? Because it feels like the amount of stuff we've already gotten in this, like, 6-7 week span, like, I thought we would have stopped. I didn't even think we were going back to the Shanks fight, right? Like
same.
I thought we were stopping after that. I was surprised we even got the rest of the law, like even went back to law in the first place, let alone like 2-3 times, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that we keep getting more and more, I feel like at the very least, we talked a little bit about this before the stream started as far as this flashback goes. At the very least, this flashback has to wrap up before we go back to Egghead, right?
Yeah.
Because the one that initiated this flashback was Sabo having a conversation with the revolutionaries. So we kind of have to fill that side of it in a little more, close that chapter, see how all that wrapped up, how he got into that situation in the first place and how it played out. But I still do think like the amount of information, it feels like this might be the perfect amount of tease to kind of get us like really theorizing and going and not follow up on until like we actually meet Vivi again in Elbaf. So maybe the next scene that we see is back directly onto Sabo's perspective, and like we never finish the sentence of Lily from Emu, and then like just Sabo comes in there, maybe he catches Cobra dead and he finds out, and then we kind of wrap up there.
Right. I like that because I think we're gonna get a little more info, but I think mostly like if Oda's like storyboarding it, I think like him and his editors are like, okay, the main thing we still have to show is Sabo's role in all this. Like we're not here to reveal everything. We're here to show that probably Sabo overheard some reveals, and that's why he's being hunted, but not what those reveals are, right? That's generally what I think. But I would say that I expect to see what the letter says from Lily. Like there was a short letter pinned from the Queen, and this would be really, like, I don't know if this is exactly how it'll go down, but I think it'd be pretty cool if Cobra sits down and is like, what did that letter say? Or yeah, Emu sits down and is like, what did that letter say? Because like Emu doesn't know, because like if it hasn't been spoken about, right, it's just been handed down or whatever, maybe Emu doesn't even know that thing exists. And what if that's Emu's question? Like Emu wouldn't say this, but like in their mind, before I kill you because you're asking so many questions, what did that letter say? You know, because I'm curious. And so I could see a thing where Cobra says like the poem or whatever, and then maybe and what I would love is if Cobra says like okay, so the will of D must be, and then he gets shot like Clover did, right?
Yeah, like Clover did.
Yep, and that's why he died, because he was about to reveal the will of D. And maybe Emu's like, even the Gorosei aren't supposed to know that. You know what I mean? Like no one, like literally no one. It could be that kind of thing. Because that's why Emu entered the room and the Gorosei are surprised. They're like, wait, what are you doing in here? Yeah, it could be that Emu knows, hey, I can't even let the Gorosei hear this, right? Which is, you know, kind of crazy. But yeah, I don't know. But I do think like we got to get back to the Straw Hats soon. I can't.
I'm starting to miss them a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm starting to miss them a little bit.
The reason we're seeing this is to make the Egghead incident beefier. You know what I'm saying? Like for us to have more context. So I think Oda is getting really close to giving us enough context. Because like we even see how Bonnie was involved now, right? Because like she met up with Sabo, so we have that connection already. So then, so now we know Bonnie can tell us everything because she knows all sorts of stuff, right? And one other thing I want to mention, and then you can cook all you want. But Viola, I know it's random, but Dressrosa was there. King Riku and Cobra are like the same guy in the sense of their countries got taken over by warlords, so like they teamed up to argue against the warlord thing. So like they're friends, or they should be friends. And Viola can see everything, right? Like she
you
can
think
use her power.
She's got the binocs out and she's spying on him?
I'm just saying, if Cobra's like hey Riku, I'm gonna go talk to the Gorosei about, you know, stuff like from the past or whatever. It's like really important, and I could see Riku being the smart guy he is, like, hey Viola, can you keep an eye on him for me, or like it could even or it could even be Cobra asks. I don't know if Cobra's fully aware of Viola's powers, but the fact they're friends could just set up where Riku's looking out for him, and then Viola and Riku would know everything, kind of like Vivi maybe does and Sabo does, right? So I thought that could be interesting, because then Emu wouldn't even know probably that Viola was looking. So it's just kind of random, you know. There's no reason to think it other than she could have done it, but it'd be
I like it though. I like it because the beauty of the Reverie is there's so many parties involved, right? And like, so like there's potential for a lot of for it to go a lot of different ways. Like who thought like Leo and Sai were gonna take down Charlo?
So
like
crazy, bro.
That was like that was just a beautiful thing. But it does make you think, like, Cobra, like, he can't be dumb enough to think that he's just gonna walk in there, ask some like forbidden questions,
right,
and then like just walk away scot-free, right? He's gotta have at least some sort of like backup plan in some way to like potentially get this information out. Because like even I feel like one of the reasons he's probably like pretty fearless about this is like he's on his last legs. He's already pretty sick, right? So did he potentially talk to like Riku? It doesn't seem like he really discussed it with Vivi, possibly to protect her. Right. So like what would the other like plan be to kind of spread the information? Is a good thought to have for sure, especially with like things really starting to ramp up, right? At this point, as we head to this final war, you really need that trigger for the entire world to start to gather together, right? Yeah. I don't think it's going to be quite the case of like Luffy gets to the final island, finds out the news, and he just goes island to island spreading the news, and people just believe him, right? It's not going to be that simple. Man, yeah. He's never been that guy either. He doesn't even care. He probably doesn't even care.
Man, anyone who saw my Morgan's video from a couple weeks ago is probably already typing in the chat where literally that idea you just said was the topic of an entire video that I did. And I, because you're right, because in pretty much every situation, someone other than Luffy convinces the people that he's the savior. He's the one that they all need to put all their eggs in that basket. You know, he's on the right side, all that kind of stuff. It's almost always someone else who vouches for him, or it's either someone who vouches for him or he shows it by example, like on accident, like he doesn't even mean to, right? So like, and I think the best example, which is like what the whole video was about, was Gyatso in Dressrosa, who, by the way, one of my all-time favorite characters in One Piece. It's like such a random guy, but he's anytime I watch Dressrosa, he almost makes me cry, bro. Like he's just he just hypes everything up. But but he climbed to like the mountain and was like, everyone, do you remember that guy in the Colosseum? That young warrior named Luffy. Well, he's actually Straw Hat Luffy, and he just promised me he's gonna one-hit KO Doflamingo in 10 seconds. Like
everybody's getting gassed up,
and everyone's like, "What?" So and he's like, "I know a pirate took over our country, but just put your faith in this one." And everyone's like, "All right, like we trust you, whatever." And so I think Morgans is going to be the guy who does a similar thing but to the whole world, because he already has that trust, right? Because like that's the thing, someone has to tell him, and it could be that they see it, like maybe Viola's somehow able to broadcast her vision, which would be really crazy, but something like that, or just there is just a camera that shows it and catches Emu, right? There's a lot of ways, but I think Morgan's just like vouching for him, because everyone's just like, no matter what Morgans puts in the paper, people believe him. Right.
Yeah.
So
he's got the street cred.
Exactly. That's exactly it, bro. That's exactly it. So so yeah, and but going back to what we were saying about Viola, yeah, like there has to be some catalyst for the whole world to find out, oh, the government's the bad guys. Wow. You know, I didn't expect that. You know, because they all think pirates are bad, right? That's like the whole system. So yeah. So yeah, I feel like Viola or someone being in on it makes a lot of sense.
The other idea I've seen on this that I liked is Morge did a video where he talked about the Punk Records being potentially involved.
I know what you're talking about.
Because even just revealing the O'Hara incident and everything the people of O'Hara found out as well could be a big catalyst, and that in itself would be a pretty big incident to go down if that like Punk Records somehow spread to the rest of the world.
Yep.
The only issue I had with the theory was how it happened. We never really had an answer. He just said Luffy punches it and it just leaks to everyone's minds. I don't really see that out. That's where he kind of lost me. But I do like the idea. Maybe it's not the catalyst. Maybe eventually it does turn out to be like the internet, like Vegapunk imagines, and that's how like people are able to confirm the truth.
Yes. No, and I'm so glad you shouted that video out. I shouted it out in the video I did also, so I know it very well. So yeah, no, perfect mind rope there, man. And I agree with you. That's the kind of why I did my video. No, I shouldn't say kind of why. Like I had the idea before I even saw his, and someone's like, "Oh, you should watch this just in case." And I had the same thing as I was like, so it's just like Punk Records malfunctions and just it goes to everyone's brain. Like that's kind of like that's like a big jump. Like that's like a not that it's impossible. Like anything can happen, but
you need a lot more explanation on how that happens.
Yeah, exactly. I need a little more like narrative weight, or like even just like a line like Punk Records has been acting funny recently, or you know anything. So and, you know not to diss Morge, because the rest of the video I was like, dude, you're 100% correct, right? You're like 100%. So that's why I shouted it out. But yeah, there's got to be something, and I guess I'll just say this while we're on the topic of like Egghead and everything. I think actually a catalyst from that is that either everyone's gonna see Luffy punch Saturn, or I like this even more, Robin reveals the Ancient Kingdom name successfully, and that's like on camera or something, so the whole world hears the Ancient Kingdom name, because she like fulfills Clover's will, like right in front of Saturn, which is also like the Gorsei were on the phone calling orders last time. This time she's like, I'm just gonna say it right to his face, like I don't care, you know. And Luffy's there to protect her this time, so she won't die like Clover did, right? So
that's a good one. I like that one. Quick little, not to get sidetracked, but the Clover getting shot is like the biggest Mandela moment for me, because he doesn't die after that. He's still alive after that.
Yeah, he's still breathing and talking, right?
Yeah. I remember my chat telling me, I was like, wait, what? I thought he got blasted, and that was
I know.
He got up. He's like, we must protect the books.
I know, and now we know Saul is alive, so it's like, don't tell me they captured Clover and like you know, and like are using him. Which I mean, hey, no one Oda. I mean, it could be a Sukiyaki situation, because honestly, Clover has Sukiyaki vibes, you could say, because he's like an old man that we thought was dead who can read the poneglyphs. So I'm gonna say, or honestly, it could be interesting because maybe the government doesn't have a way to read the poneglyphs, and so they stole him. That would be
That it could go dark
man,
there. You could go pretty dark there.
Man, now my brain's working a little more than it should. Now I'm like, man, maybe it actually is possible. So, man, I don't even want to think. I don't even want to think about it. I'm gonna throw that to Parvision or someone and see what they think. See if it's as crazy as I think. But okay, real quick, I want to get caught up on a couple super chats because I've been getting behind. Growth Stonks, I'm sorry, I'm 26 minutes late, my man. I'm so sorry. Thank you for the $5. Emu could be the former mermaid princess from the Void Century that Joy Boy failed to save. Also, keep pushing it, Kings. Hey, I appreciate you, bro. As for Emu being the former mermaid princess, I do want to say this because it's a beautiful segue. You know, Shirahoshi got captured by a celestial dragon, well, twice, sort of, like one and a half times, whatever you want to call it, right? Sharlos was really going after her that entire time. And could that be a parallel to what happened in the past? Because if you think about it, Poseidon is useless on the red line. There is nothing Poseidon can do. Poseidon is defenseless if they're up on the red line. That is the worst place on Earth for Poseidon to be. And so could that be a tie to the past where maybe Poseidon got captured, you know, whenever they were on the red line, and that started a lot of the issues that, you know, like with the Void Century, because Poseidon couldn't help. Poseidon was too far away to call for help, because even if they're near the shore, they can probably call the Sea Kings, you know, to come to the shore and give them commands so they know what's going on, but they probably can't even hear Poseidon all the way up on top of the red line, right? So now tying to what Growth Stonk said, like Emu could be the former mermaid princess. Like, I'm not sure. Again, it kind of like with the Lily thing. I could see more of like a possession or like a power stealing aspect to that. But I still think that's prevalent here, because like maybe Poseidon was captured up on the red line. Somehow the powers were taken, or you know, or like this body swapped into him, because I mean, Doflamingo wanted the Op fruit, presumably to swap with Emu or swap something. You know what I'm saying, up there. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like Poseidon's definitely going to be important, but I don't know. What do you think?
No, that's a good shout. Like, going back to when I was mentioning earlier, like, what is the reasoning that these 20 banded together to go after the Great Kingdom? I think it's like equality could just be part of it, where like Joy Boy was trying to bring all these people together, you know, with the minks and the you know, the fishmen and all that together, and I think it could be like the people just saw that as a threat to their current society type of thing. And like there was definitely a lot more prejudice probably even back then, right? Think about 800 years ago. It's already pretty bad now, and it's become a little more accepting, but like probably an even deeper rooted issue back then. So yeah, like for Joy Boy to write out an entire apology, there's probably a lot of stuff in there that, you know, could be traumatic even for the fishmen.
And my thoughts on that, and I know it sounds like really crazy at first, but let me explain. I think Joy Boy almost manufactured the fishmen racism on purpose because of what we're seeing right here, where if Poseidon goes, like, if the fishmen get to go to the reverie, that means that Poseidon / the fishmen are going to go to the surface all the way up on the red line, where Poseidon could get captured, which is the absolute worst case scenario for anyone, right? So I could see a scenario where the apology, like the whole reason that they've been stuck at Fishman Island this entire time, is almost an insurance policy, where basically Joy Boy's like, all right, you know, Emu can drop these massive beams from the sky, so I'm going to put you directly under Marijois, so that way they can't blow you up. And also, like, they guard like the one entrance to the New World and stuff, right? But it's just like, I'm going to put you down here, and I need you to stay here for 800 years. And like, people are gonna hate you because they're gonna think you're weird.
Protect the Noah.
Yes, exactly. Protect the Noah. You guys can't get destroyed down here. You have the Final Road Poneglyph. Like you guys are my linchpin to this plan. Like, that's Joy Boy's whole thing. That's why he apologized, because he's like, all right, fishmen, you guys got us. You're the only race that can stay in the water. I have no choice but to do this. Like, I'm sorry. Like, someone has to be down here. It's the only way this is gonna work. You know, we need like an ancient kingdom affiliated thing or country to let new pirates into the New World. We need, you know, like, you guys to be safe, which is like all the way at the bottom of the ocean, like really hard for the government to come find you. Even like Mjosgard, which he balled out this chapter, by the way, but Mjosgard, he crashed, right? He tried going down to Fishman Island and crashed. Like, there's a perfect example right there. So, yeah, so I think Joy Boy pretty much forced him to stay down there because there was no other way. And you can look at the Iron Giant that went to Marijois 200 years ago, right when the fishmen got to go to the Reverie 200 years ago. The Iron Giant went up there, and then the fishmen couldn't go there anymore. And so I've been saying that maybe that giant woke up because like the will or whatever mechanism they're using in the ancient kingdom, it's like, oh, fishmen are trying to go back up to the red line, go stop them. You know, like we can't let that happen. So yeah, I don't know.
That's interesting. I think that makes sense, especially considering like how much stuff they put down there. Like our entire road poneglyph is taken with the fishmen, along with, you know, the Noah and the Apology and Poseidon being a key point in this. Like I think the prophecy all along has not been like Joy Boy like being destined to be Luffy. Instead, it's the timeline of Poseidon reincarnating, and that's why like kind of Roger was too early. So
Yep.
Poseidon's critical.
Or even like all 3 ancient weapons haven't been born, right? But yeah, same idea is like Roger's like, wow, it really all does have to happen at one time, or else. And this is a whole other tangent that I mean, we can go on it if you want, but it's gonna take a long time. But I think shadows are gonna be really important to the end of the story. Like my idea for the Gods Knights is that they're actually shadows from the past that Imu like took. Because like if you look at Nightmare Luffy, he's a living person who had other people's shadows put into him, right? And he was still able to control his body. Like it's not like he was possessed, but he was given a power boost. But he was influenced though, because he like used a sword and stuff, which Luffy would never do normally. Yeah. And so my theory for the Gods Knights is that they're shadows of really strong people from 900 years ago, and Imu found a way to keep the bodies that are attached to them alive. So like, I think it's Joy Boy's crew, to be honest. I mean, it could be a lot of different people, but basically like they lost. Imu got Joy Boy's crew, took all their shadows. And I say they froze their bodies. It could be a variety of things, because you need the body to stay alive, or else the shadow disappears. So Imu could have frozen the bodies, which ties to the freezer, because we saw a Straw Hat in the freezer. So what if the other chambers just have the other crewmates in it? And then those shadows are put into new bodies, and those are the Gods Knights, because Imu can control them somehow, right? So that way, and so that's why Shanks could be a Gods Knight, where he's still his normal self. He's really strong because he has, I actually think it's Bink's shadow. I probably sound super crazy right now, but I actually think like, because he has a lot of right-hand man aesthetics with the scar on the eye, he's a swordsman, etc. And so I think Binks was Joy Boy's right-hand man, or whoever was Joy Boy's right-hand man, doesn't even have to be Binks. Was just that shadow is in Shanks. And then going back to this whole timeline thing, why Roger's too early, I think it's because at some point, whether it's like an eclipse or whatever happens, the sun will be blocked, so it'll be like complete darkness. And then that's when Imu can like take back control of like Shanks or who or the whole planet, or do whatever, right? And maybe that's why like all the ancient weapons have to be alive when that happens to like have a chance. So that's why literally, dang, we're too early. We could not beat Imu right now if we wanted to. We can only beat Imu on this one day, maybe, or something like that. So
true.
So yeah, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, the prophecy stuff, I'm just so intrigued to find out, right? Because the way it is right now, it just feels a little too on the nose for Luffy to like get all of these things and line up perfectly,
right?
And then just like is always kind of conflict with the message of freedom for Luffy. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's just a matter of time and lining up the perfect time to be able to defeat Imu, which they weren't able to do in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and that really depends on what Emu's powers are, which is something we need to talk about in just a second with all the flower stuff. But I want to go ahead and finish these super chats, because like we keep cooking, you know. So, let's see. Brandon King, member for 2 months. I appreciate you, bro. Think Frankie will see the Oro Jackson on Elbaf. I mean, that's where the Atom Tree is, or we think so. And Oro Jackson was also made of Atom Wood, so I would like it. You know, it's kind of one of those things where I feel like a lot of islands could make sense where you find the Oro Jackson. You know, like we didn't even see Roger at Elbaf. I presume he went there. Like, I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I feel like we have to see it before the story's over, or find out what happened to it at least. So
yeah, but I'm not so sure it can't be like an SBS thing.
That too.
Like, because like some of the things we found out in SBS, I didn't think we were gonna find out in SBS.
Yep.
So like maybe it's like I think the reason most people are interested in it is because of that egg, right? That egg is like the big thing. Everybody's like, oh, we gotta find out what that egg is. But if that egg turns out to be just an aesthetic thing, then I don't think the Oro Jackson is probably as important.
Yeah. What do you think about the egg? Do you think that's Uranus? You in that boat?
Man, I don't know. I think it could be anything. Like,
Uh-huh.
It could be Uranus. It could be like the idea. The one thing I've always thought about is like Oda has created such a big fantasy story, and the fact that we just haven't seen like an actual dragon, like, and it's been the kind of like Ryuma killed a
Yes.
dragon. Like, where are those kind of dragons? Like that part of lore is like something I've always been fascinated in. So I think there's potential there to kind of explore that if Uranus is potentially connected to like dragons or something like that. Or it could be absolutely aesthetic. It could be one of those things like it's like Scopper Gaban to me. Like if he shows up, it could be great, but I've given up on it at this point.
Yeah, no, bro, that dude, Scopper, Gaban, and Geen are the ultimate like when there's like a
here he is.
There's a mystery character. Oh, you look at the comments, guarantee like there's gonna be a 50-50 split with Geen and Scopper Gaban. Which ironically okay, I'll say this, which ironically you know, like their popular choices, or maybe not Geen, but Copper Gaban is for the man marked by flames. We definitely have to talk about that. I'm gonna get through the rest of these super chats, but we because talking about, like you said, the SBS, I'll just say this real quick. You said, like, you know, Oral Jackson be reeled in an SBS or just like other auxiliary info that we get. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be in the actual story. Well, my pick for the man marked by flames is actually Masked Deuce, and he's only been in the novels, right?
Wow.
So
okay, that is out of left field. Oh you got high odds on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I took it, man. The plus couple thousand odds, but no, we'll probably have time to get into that in just a minute. I just want to get caught up because I'm just so far behind. But yeah, we'll probably talk about that. Will of Gil, or actually, hold on, sorry. Will of Gil super chatted $2. Brooke is definitely asking to see Emu's panties. That's 100%. That
guaranteed.
Yeah, and also, you know how Brooke is like really old, and he told Big Mom like he called her young lady, and also has to see her panties the one time. I could see something here where like Emu says Brooke is like young boy, you know, like young boy, you know nothing about the world, and Brooke's like. Oh damn! You know, like shit.
Oh snap!
Yeah,
I had this before.
That's actually fire, bro. That's gonna happen. Brooke's my favorite character in the story, by the way. So I'm all about the Brooke theories. Tainted Marth became a member. I think you've been a member before, or just says became a member on my side. But appreciate you, man. Dak, give me the wrench. Also, like D-Stream, guys. Yes, please like D-Stream. Marth, thank you for the reminder. I did give you the wrench. I appreciate you. Thank you. Young Usopp super chatted $2. Everyone like D-Stream. Man, I really appreciate you guys super chatting or becoming a member and just saying like D-Stream. That's seriously, that's Nakama right there, man. Nakama united for life, basically. That's the catchphrase, my boy Ronnie, but unofficial for the channel now. And then Terrible TJ super chatted $2. The ancient weapons will form a Megazord. I mean, I'm not totally against it. I guess I would, I don't know, like if they're all alive, I mean, I guess Frankie Docking, they were all alive too, they just grabbed on. So I could definitely see a scenario where at least they all work in unison, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they all, like with Joy Boy too, right? They're like some crazy force in general. Actually merging, you know, I guess if Pluton is a, well, I think it's actually a mole. I don't know if you've heard this. I don't know if you've heard. I know you reacted to Lafrotail. I don't know if you've heard Pluton is a mole.
No, I'm not familiar with this one.
Okay, well,
if you got
now
TLDR, we could go into.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know what? That was the last super chat. Now that we're on the topic, that's one of my big things on the channel. So I'm sure everyone would love to hear your thoughts on it. So I do think Pluton's a mole. Now I'll start off by saying it's supposed to be a ship, right? That's like what we've been told.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say there's two things here. One, living things can be ships.
True.
San Juan Wolf is called the Colossal Battleship. Frankie said it's not a ship if it doesn't take you to the next island. So if it literally can help you transport island to island, it will count as a ship because you're traversing the sea. So those are the main things. But also, it could be a mole that's like Laboon, where it's like half mechanical, half mole, right? And so you can just board it, like it's still an animal, so it can dig in the ground, but you can board it so humans can actually ride it like a ship, right? So that's the idea. But where it all starts is, you know, Pluton's the god of the underworld. So right there, underground vibes. If you go to Wano, we know that Pluton is sleeping under Wano, or at rest is what the official said, which is like something that something living would do, is sleeping or at rest, right? And then Frankie's even said things like, like that thing, like it's like an abomination, like the way he talks about it. What's his name? Tom even said it's the nastiest monster in the history of ship making. So there's just like a lot of like weird little, like it's an abomination, like an actual living monster of some kind.
Yeah, characterization.
Yep. But the main thing is, you know, if you're the god of the underworld, you got to have some kind of ties to being underground, and moles obviously dig underground. And if you go to Gadatsu's cover story, there's a giant mole that he finds after landing on the Blue Sea. It's on Ukari Island, and the mole has a mining helmet on that has Mount Fuji, like it's without question Mount Fuji, and then behind it is a traditional Japanese sun, and that's just on his helmet, which is like such a random thing. And they beat up the mole, and then they make the mole dig underground all the way to Alabasta, and then they make a permanent tunnel that goes from Alabasta to Ukari Island. So that little mole proved to us that it can dig island to island.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are trying to make the best ship ever in One Piece, that's probably the best way to do it. You don't have to worry about people seeing you. There's no weather concerns. You can't sink, right? So and it's just faster because you're just cutting through the earth instead of going around the earth, right? So for all intents and purposes, that's the best way to travel the sea, is just go under it, right? And now to tie it directly to Wano, and this is like I think everyone's favorite thing, is if you go to the port that is at the bottom of Wano, that like Apu and other people use to get pulled up to the top of Wano, that's called Mogura Port, which is mole in Japanese. So it's literally mole port, and that is literally where Sukiyaki and Law and Robin were when he's like, the mole, or like Pluton is sleeping underneath this. And if you just think logically, like, you know, like we saw the time lapse of Wano having the borders put up and then the water filling and then like building the settlement at the top to avoid the water, right? We saw like how it happened in stages. Well, if you think about it, when the walls are put up, you need to make that port that goes up to the top immediately, because you have to take all the goods and stuff up top to start building the settlement up the mountain anyway. So that's like the first thing you're going to do. And so wouldn't it make sense that like the walls are put up, and then like immediately they're like, okay, well, it's going to start filling with water, so we got to start going up to the top of the mountain. So they go make a port, and they just name it after the creature that's under them. You know, that necessitated the whole thing, because back then they would have known that Pluton is under them, right? Like they would have probably seen it or been told, like, hey, this is why giant walls are being put up and you guys can't leave now. You know, like I'm sure they were told that. So, and there's some other things too, like Usopp in Syrup Village, he said that he saw a legendary mole burrowing under the mansion. Which is like such a specific thing, right? I feel like I'm missing some really good stuff that people have told me before, but yeah, and also in that mole that they found on Ukari Island, they modified its helmet so they could ride in the helmet. So right there ties back to like the ship thing where it could be modified like Laboon, right? So it could just be, it's a living mole, but it's just given robot parts. And then you talk about how it can destroy islands. This is also really important. Well, Nami said that there's more volcanoes under the sea than there are on land, and new islands are made from those volcanoes erupting, and then like it just solidifies and becomes an island. And so if we look at Wano, we almost saw how you can destroy islands, which is a similar thing by like going into like the lava reserves under the island, and it explodes, right? Like how Big Mom and Kaido blew up. Well, if you just dug way under an island, dug into all the volcano stuff under, or like lava, and like triggered an eruption, it would blow up the island, and you wouldn't even know. Like the mole would just dig away, and you wouldn't even know any better. So that's I guess that's it. That's the Pluton as a mole theory.
That's good. I like it. I think, like you even pointed it out, the port being named after a mole. That I think is your key point to really give it some legs. It's a really cool idea. I think everything makes sense to it. The thing I would probably question first when it comes to it is the reactions. Because, like, if you think about, like, Frankie, obviously they're going to see the blueprints and then obviously give the reaction, be like, oh my god, this could be super destructive. The first one that comes to my mind is when Frankie flips the blueprints to the CP9. And like, their first reaction is just terror.
Yeah.
I feel like if they see a mole, they got to at least be like, huh?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's funny you say that, because the blueprints or they were said to be for the counter to Pluton, not the actual thing.
True.
And so
that's a good point.
And so I have a couple theories. Where one, it could just be a canon thing or some crazy bomb that blows up the mole. I don't know. It could be that basic, or it could be the blueprints for Pluton and the counter for Pluton at the same time, because it shows how to make Pluton, and thus you can see how to beat it. As in, Vegapunk had a self-destruct button in his lab for no reason, and obviously Frankie ties to Vegapunk. Frankie and Tom are connected to the shipwrights of Water 7, all that kind of stuff. So there's a connection there to be made, and so I'm just thinking, does Pluton have a self-destruct button? And that's the counter, is like, you just need to know how to do that, or like you need to know where that is, because that was the whole thing. Like with Frankie going into the lab, it was the whole thing. It was like, just don't hit the self-destruct button, whatever you do. And of course, he still did it. And it's just like the fact that already has existed once and mattered. I don't know, but it could just be as simple as the blueprint showed some crazy contraption to take down the mole.
Another actual battleship to kind of take it down,
right?
Or something like that.
Or even just like a robotic mole, like a completely robotic one. And so like the other one's like a living one, and that's why like it's so special, I guess, or something like that. But yeah, so
I dig it, man. It's fun.
No, hey man, I'm glad it's the first time you got to hear it. Usually like I ask when people have either heard it or like they have their own theory or something. But no, it was cool to get to tell you that. So that's awesome. Real quick, let's see. Will of Gill super chatted $2 and said, "Mac and cheese is a war crime. # the agenda continues." What do you think about mac and cheese?
We talked about this on Kev's stream. I think it was last week.
Yep.
Mac and cheese is goated, man. I don't know what's going on here. Why there's some mac and cheese slander.
It's crazy.
I said this to Kev and he agreed, but like I think people that don't like mac and cheese probably have only had Easy Mac.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like so.
Or like
it's like saying, I don't like ramen, and all you've had is like Top Ramen or something.
Maruchan or whatever, right?
Yeah.
No, dude. I 100% agree. Or like, and this has happened to me with other foods where like maybe you ate it and got sick once, and so
true.
So your brain is just and I feel it. I honestly, because your brain, I mean, that's like probably like an evolutionary thing, like associating foods that made you sick with not eating them again. It's probably like a smart thing, but in general, mac and cheese is goated, man. I don't know. I don't know. But hey, Prince of all anime, bro. I just saw your chat. I'm a princess now after 1084. Me too, bro. Me too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to change the name to I'm the Queen.
I'm the Queen. Oh, bro, that's hilarious, dude. That's so funny. But all right, what I want to get into real quick, because I've been saving this a little bit this whole time. We're an hour in because we've been cooking, but I want to talk about flowers. All right, and the main thing I want to talk about, and I can actually bring this up on stream. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's not ideal. That is the YouTube page. There we go. It's a little small for people. I think I can enlarge it. But okay, so I don't know if you've seen this, Zach, but so Oda gave us flowers for each of the supernova and each of the Straw Hats on separate occasions. And so the supernova one, the main thing to pull from that is that Luffy is associated with the sunflower, and then Blackbeard is associated with the red spider lily. And so a lot of people have been talking about that. But the thing I want to focus on is that the Straw Hats have different flowers. So, for example, Nami is the sunflower for the Straw Hats, and Luffy is Cosmos, like space ties, which is insane. But the main thing is Robin is called the Casablanca Lily. Okay? And so going back to last chapter, Lily obviously is tied to that. And Robin has the flower fruit. Okay?
Yes.
So, and she's obviously the one who can read the ancient texts and can uncover the true history and all that kind of stuff. I guess I put that there. And uncover the true history, all that kind of stuff, right? So right here, it's like, okay, Robin already had flower ties, and now she has Lily connections. So now we have to dig into this even deeper, right? And so I looked up Casablanca Lily, because obviously Robin speaks in Spanish for all of her attacks. And I knew this meant White House Lily already, but I just looked it up anyway. And what I didn't know is that apparently it's not just any White House. It's supposed to be like the Casablanca is the White House, like the president's White House. And so I think what Oda could be going for here is an actual White House connection, or I have the Capitol building on screen, but they're all white buildings that are architecturally look the same, right? And so the Capitol building, looks like that. But then if you go into the room, and by the way, shout out 3-Day Trip for sending me some of this on Discord. We were talking about it, and she sent me some things, so shout out to her. But and then if you go to the room that Cobra is talking to the Gorosei in, it has the same pillars pretty much as like the White House does. Like even the angle we're seeing it looks the same. And then think about what's in that building. The famous picture of Abe Lincoln on like sitting in the chair, whatever that's called, I can't remember. So, and it says the same thing. It has the pillars in front of it, sitting on the throne. And what did Abe Lincoln do? Freed the slaves, right? And what does Emu do? Have tons of slaves, right? Like that's like their whole thing. And so I know like this, like kind of like, okay, like what do all these things mean? I don't really know yet because it's brand new. But what I wanted to,
you're onto something.
Yeah, there's something here. Hid and I were cooking on this quite a bit last night. And so my thought is, well, obviously the lilies are important, and I don't have a picture to show right now for this, but another lily, like so I said, there's the White House lily, there's the red spider lily for Blackbeard, but another lily that's important is the blue water lily. So the blue water lily is associated with Egypt, and in particular, the god or the ruler, I can't remember, Nefertem. So like Nefertari, Nefertem, that's the blue water lily. And Vivi has blue hair. So what all this means, I'm still trying to figure it out. But what I think my initial thought on all this is, what if Emu also has flower powers? Okay, I know that's like, what does that even mean? Like, well, how is that strong? Why does that matter? Well, think about what Robin's flower powers are, right? Robin's flower powers are limbs, right? Or body parts of her own body, though, right? And also, whenever she fought Black Maria, what happened? She turned into a giant demon thing, okay? So right there's something to take from that. But she has the flower fruit. She can sprout her own body parts. What if Emu has an upgraded version of the flower fruit where Emu can sprout any living thing's body parts? So instead of just being like, if Robin wants to go slap somebody with Hikentesco Mano, instead of just being her hand, it can be like Orz's, you know what I'm saying, or something. Like it can be whatever life form you want, and then that can also tie to, how every time someone eats a devil fruit, or at least early in the story, they're like, I'm a rubber man, I'm a mochi man, I'm a lightning man. Yeah. Well, what if Emu can create body parts of rubber men or lightning men? So basically what I'm getting at is, through flowers, Emu might be able to have like every power. She
becomes God, essentially.
Yes.
She's like a creation.
It's like a life fruit at that point, right? Like you're making any life form you want, and then that can just tie to, like why Emu is the ultimate being, and why, like, because they have the brain fruit. They have all the fruits technically, so they're they're smart, they're strong. They have all like the little, like Viola can see everywhere. Emu can do everything, which it's kind of like, it's definitely a big reach right now, but the flowers have to matter, Oh, and also some people are bringing up some other stuff that's really important. Thank you guys. Like Hidden was saying some of this too. Like flowers are prevalent in every arc pretty much. The flower capital in Wano, they tried protecting it. The flower fields in Dressrosa. Yeah. Every princess has ties to a flower, and so it's like flowers are protected over and over, basically. And obviously they're important with Robin. So I don't know. I don't know if you have anything to respond to all that. I don't know where I'm going with it other than just pointing out the parallels. but yeah.
No, I think it's interesting. I think, throwing it all together at first, it seems like, okay, hold on, what's the end goal here? Yeah. But the idea of Emu essentially having this like creation fruit, essentially connecting to flowers, I think it's interesting, because at first it seems crazy, but you got to think the scale of these final battles, having this final battle against this being that is literally pretty much the beholder of every single fruit imaginable, up against Luffy, who has the most ridiculous fruit, is able to kind of manipulate everything as well. That could be even just like, if you think in terms of a battle, that could be a very creative counter back and forth. where on one hand you have this person that is creating, that is trying to control everything essentially,
Yes.
playing God, whereas Luffy is trying to like free, just have like create freedom from all of that. I think it works thematically, and it's just like the vision of it as like a big grand final battle works. Like I think One Piece so far has been pretty level-headed in how things have grown. But like when we get to this final battle, like we're gonna need like ancient weapons are gonna be involved, like island destroying levels of power. Like Luffy's gonna have to match that, and the final villain's gonna have to match that. And if Imu's gonna be that person, they're gonna need a power to that level for sure. And I think you could tie this into, I know the idea, a lot of people have had this idea that like Umi, like the god of the sea. So like from that long ago, we could literally connect it to like potential gods and stuff. So I don't think it's so outrageous. It's just the pieces are a little loose right now to go from like flowers into blooming into gods, I guess. But I think the idea is definitely interesting.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because that's even like when I was talking to Hidden last night, that was like part of it, is like, man, I just got to get the ideas out there and just say them, and then, you know, hopefully someone can help me make some sense of it, because like, I don't know, because like I've been toying in my head, like, do I want to try to make an Emu video? But like I have all these like random thoughts, but like I don't want to, you know, I need to synthesize it. So yeah, it's, you know, and you look at like the Adam and Eve tree, how the Eve tree goes like, or the Sunlight Tree Eve goes all the way down to Fishman Island and all the way up to like Marijois or whatever. And and going back to like Crocodile with like the lily thing, just tying flowers into it again. That was a flower that was just in a glass of water. So like we saw the bottom of it like in the ocean, quote unquote. So you could almost say like that's like a mini parallel of that whole thing, right? It's like the flower of the world makes it sound way too dramatic, but something like that, you know. So So yeah, there's something there, man. There's something, and you know, tying to like how like I brought the Capitol, like the White House, like does that tie to any of it? And this is like some deep stuff. I feel like this is like where I really want to make a video. But you know, it's like you could even say, okay, is like Oda going for like a United States connection here, which like the U.S., you know, it's one nation under God, you know, in God we trust, all that kind of stuff, and like Imu's trying to be God here, and then and also, like, all of the celestial dragons have saint in their name, and like their symbol's a cross already. So it's like, is there like a big tie to like the U.S. government or something? Like I don't really know. Like Oda'd be reaching deep. Like that'd be crazy. But I don't know. He could be cooking. I don't. You know, it's tough to say.
It's a lot of deep themes in One Piece.
Yeah, he does not shy away, no matter what it is.
No.
You know. I mean, there's all sort. I mean, like I know like there's been a lot of videos like Yamato was on the cover this week. I know a lot of people have been talking about that, for example. So Oda likes, you know, stirring the pot, that's for sure.
He definitely, for sure.
No doubt. Okay, real quick, I want to get to a couple super chats. I saw some people were gifting memberships, so definitely want to shout you guys out. Real quick, Mr. Bushido super chatted €2. Mihawk and Crocus are male Amazons, both named after flowers. Male, I mean, my only whole thing is we haven't even seen a male Amazonian, right? So, but like the flower name is interesting, I guess. But I gotta think about that. I always want to know how the Amazonians reproduce. Anyway, I don't know. We don't really know that yet. But and then also, isn't the White House also connected to Olympus? You know what? That might be like part of the design for it, actually, or like that's like was their inspiration or something like that. I think you're right. I got to look into all that because there's
a lot of, once you get into like outside inspiration, there's just so many rabbit holes you could get into.
Because I mean, the U.S. is also like really I don't know if based on's the right word, but like there's a lot of influence from like Romans.
We're a lake country.
Romans,
they were only developed like 300 years ago.
Yeah, and also didn't they call the U.S. the New World? Like they sailed across the ocean. There's a lot there to talk about for sure. So yeah. I mean that might be worthy of a video. I might have to think on it. And then Ronnie Williams became a member, or you've been a member before. It just says became a member on my end, but no more gray MFN names. I don't want to get demonetized, but. No more great names, bruh. Hey, I appreciate you, man. You're the king of that, man. Thank you. And then I saw there was a couple gifted memberships. Terrible TJ gifted 1 membership. I appreciate you. Welcome Zonard to the Afro Gang. Bean Boy also gifted one. Joy Boy is now in the Afro Gang. Hey, shout out Joy Boy. Glad to have you. You know, you're already part of the Afro Gang if you go to like Lafro Tale Theory, but you know. And then Ronnie Williams with the 5 gifted memberships, bro. Thank you, Ronnie. I appreciate you, bro. That's a big W. Welcome, Movahid. I think I'm saying your name close to right. Cash the King of Games, AK Velachor, and Fran Gomez. A welcome to the Afro Gang, y'all. This is a good time to mention. I put it on a community post before, but I'm going to do like a monthly members only stream. And I was still debating on what to do this month. And I was looking at like when some of the memberships are expiring. And a lot of them expire on the 21st or 22nd. So tomorrow, because I believe tomorrow is Zoro vs. King, I believe, in the anime. Definitely going to stream that. That'll be the members only stream. But like we'll do other stuff too, because that's only like 30 minutes or whatever. But I'm thinking, so tomorrow night, 10 p.m., we're going to have a members only stream. So everyone who's a member, be looking forward to that. Also, if it's members only, you know, the copyright stuff is a little easier to deal with because only, you know, only a couple hundred people can even see it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it'll be a fun time tomorrow night. But all right. So I think that's all of them. Yeah. So now I want to get back to actually talked about the flower stuff. Why don't we talk about the man marked by flames? Because this could be some good food for thought for me because I'm in the middle of scripting that video now. So I want to get your thoughts on who you think the man marked by flames is. Or if you don't have a guess, just some of your thoughts on, you know, maybe some of the popular guesses right now, I guess.
Right, so man marked by flames, I think initially a lot of people were leaning towards Saul when he was reintroduced in the story. But then once we got the information, more information about, you know, whirlpools and all that kind of stuff, it was like, okay, it's probably not Saul. Saul's probably not out there and bandaged up, like sailing around, creating whirlpools and stuff. I think Dragon was the one that I saw a lot of evidence towards that I'm probably leaning towards now. Obviously, there's the connection to his powers, which manipulates weather somehow. The ship that he has, if you look in the manga, is a jet black ship as well, so that kind of matches up. The thing that most interested in me is somebody pointed out that in the Road to Laugh Tale, when that dropped, and they talked about where the last road poneglyph is, Vera was kind of randomly brought into that. Yep. And people were like, wait, what exactly is going on here, Vera? Like, we haven't talked about this since like forever ago. And then they kind of had to dive deep back into that. And Vera is a revolutionary territory, so that kind of connects into that. You can also line it up potentially with, you know, Blackbeard was the person talking about the man marked by flames in that Aokiji flashback. They hadn't had the information by then, but if they eventually found out more, they did end up attacking Baltigo. That was another thing. It was like, why exactly was the motive there? Because I don't imagine they just do that for no reason. So could it be potentially they know that they eventually found out that Dragon was the man marked by flames, and that became their motive for attacking that island? So I think there's a good amount of evidence that lines up with Dragon. I think the counter would be like, how could the most wanted man in the world not be known as the man marked by, like, how is he just these two identities at the exact same time when he's already so famous? Yep. But I think you could easily spin that into a way where he's kind of he's already so mysterious and sneaky already that nobody really knows about him and stuff. Like people didn't even make the connection like Monkey D. Luffy and Monkey D. Dragon were related.
So true.
So like you can't exactly say like people are just gonna catch on to stuff very easily. So I think evidence wise, the Dragon is the one I'm leaning towards the most right now with everything presented.
Okay.
But I'm not like locked into it.
I feel you. Yeah, for me, Dragon's one where he checks enough boxes. You know, that's like my thing. Like whenever I'm like thinking of stuff like this, I'm like, all right, there's got to be some pillars to this that we can like narrow things down. So like, you know, I don't think you could fully rule out anyone, but like you brought up Saul. Like for me, I would say more than anything, Oda. Like it's cool that Saul is alive, but I feel like Oda would be fumbling a little bit if he brought someone back that we thought was dead, and then they had such a huge role as where like not only are they dead, they went and got the last road poneglyph and now have whirlpool powers, and Saul can like sail a ship, which like I guess we don't know, he was in the Navy, so maybe he learned, but it's just like I don't know. It's just like there's a lot there. Like he's all by himself, sailing a ship, having world. It's just like that's a lot for me to take in for someone who I thought was dead.
Out there, like
right, yeah, like bro got thawed out, and like when and then you also have to think, okay, so you're telling me he also went down to Fishman Island and grabbed the poneglyph,
yeah,
and so so that's what I mean by like I like narrowing it down, like okay, what seems more reasonable? So dragon, the thing with dragon is you pretty much can't rule out anything with dragon. Like he seems to have wind power, so that could explain the whirlpools. He's just like a dark, mysterious guy in general, so the ship, whatever. He's powerful enough to maybe go get the poneglyph. He knew Clover and stuff, so there's a lot there. Like, yeah, sure, like that makes sense. Like Scopper Gaban, unironically, just like pretty much every other theory, he makes sense. But I'm not even gonna put stock into it until I see him. Like I'm done. But this is actually like a lot of what you said is why I actually think Mask Deuce is a really good answer, and it's not just the memes and all that. It's not just because he's
1,000.
It's not just that. He's connected to Ace and all that kind of stuff, right? It's not that simple. It's think about Whitebeard. That's the most important thing with all of this, because where was that last road poneglyph last we saw it? Down in Fishman Island, and it was Whitebeard's territory. And then we saw Blackbeard bring up the man marked by flames a year ago, right? That was halfway through the time skip. It said about a year ago, and so that means that a year after Whitebeard died, someone had the poneglyph and was moving around. So now the question is, okay, do we think someone got it right after Whitebeard died and has been going around on a black ship? Or do we think that Whitebeard, as smart as he is, thought, hey, I have this road poneglyph in my territory. When I die, they're probably going to get cooked because everyone knows how important they are. Maybe I should just move it. And so for me, that makes way more sense than anything, that Whitebeard is the one who moved it, but well before he died. And to build onto this evidence-wise, in the Ace novel, Deuce becomes one of Whitebeard's doctors. And through one of their conversations, Whitebeard tells him, basically, if I were to die or something were to happen to me, every country that I protect would be in danger. And then after that conversation, Deuce started yelling at Ace to stop killing Whitebeard, or stop trying to kill him. Because he's like, Ace, if you did kill him, all these countries would be at risk. Like, you'd be causing so much pain to kill this man. Don't do it. Right? And so Deuce knew, like, firsthand, and he learned it from Whitebeard, that Whitebeard's fully aware of how important protecting these countries is. And so then when you get down to the poneglyph, it's like, yeah, I mean, if Whitebeard knew what would happen to these countries if he died, that has to be his top priority, avoiding Fishman Island getting ransacked for the road poneglyph, right? And so this ties to Bakken, who's looking for Whitebeard's inheritance at Sphinx Island. Right. Now we don't know what that inheritance is, but and Marco, I think, even alluded to like how Pops gave up all of his money or something to like his hometown or whatever, to Sphinx, something like that. Well, it's like maybe that inheritance she's looking for is actually just the poneglyph. And this ties back to Deuce yet again, because the very last time we saw Deuce, he was leaving Sphinx Island. He had a striker, like Ace's striker, but he has a flame dial with Ace's fire in it. And he's able to use the flame dial to power the striker. So he's able to go around the seas like Ace did with a flame dial with Ace's fire in it. So when we're talking about the man marked by flames, and also he ate half of the Maramara no Mi, by the way, Deuce did. So when we talk about a man marked by flames, I'm just like, hey, there's like 15 chances here for Deuce. Like, he has a flame dial already. He ate the Maramara no Mi. He's influenced. He's marked philosophically by flames because of Ace, but like there should be a physical mark based off like the kanji or whatever. So he could have just burnt himself because he's not a fireman, but he has powers of a fireman by having the dial, right? And so then the question is, how does he have a ship that creates whirlpools, right? That's like the ultimate thing. Like who? Yeah. Because that's the ultimate thing for any guest for me is who the hell can create whirlpools? Like because fishmen have been able to do that apparently. But they need like a full group of them, like at least that we've seen. Like if you go back to Fish or Whole Cake, and so then that goes back to the flame dial because he designed the striker, and so he like built it, like he had the schematics and everything. So that ship that Ace used was made completely by Deuce, like from scratch. Like he just had a piece of paper and just wrote the whole thing down. And so then this ship that creates whirlpools. What if he just modified it so the flame dial is pushing into the ocean, creating currents under the water? You know what I'm saying? So instead of having the propeller pushing backwards like the striker does that he already designed and we have evidence of. He just pointed it downward. And then that way, because it's like an eternal source of fire. Like it's like pretty much an endless source of energy. So, you know, it's like a random guy because he's like Deuce has never even been in the manga before. But like the Ace novels really paint it, I feel like, as like a probable thing just because of Whitebeard. That's like he was friends with Whitebeard. He like, you know, and why didn't Deuce show up to Marineford? Maybe that was part of it. Like Whitebeard's like, hey, no one knows who you are. So I need you to be the one to go hide the poneglyph. You know what I'm saying? Because like if Marco does it, everyone's going to be looking for Marco. You know, like no one knows who you are. No one's looking for Mass Deuce. But Mass Deuce, pretty much the last thing we ever heard him say was he was talking to Morgans and was like, all I want to do is follow Luffy and Sabo. And so, you know, so now he should be involved, right, in the story at some point. Like he's been reporting on Luffy and Sabo to Morgans for a year, or for months, I guess, or for 2 years, I guess. But Luffy was gone for 2 years at the time skip, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I feel like he has to come back in some form or fashion. Now whether he's the man marked by flames, I don't know, but you know, that's my theory for now. So
I like it. It's an interesting thought. It, you know, like you said, checking boxes. You've done it with this scenario for sure. It would be a really cool callback to this character that's been not very prominent outside of like extra material, and I think that would probably be the biggest counter. Yeah, it's like whenever we see theories about like Shiki, I'm always just like, I don't know. I think Shiki was more of an Easter egg that's not gonna really come back into play too much, and maybe it's the same case for Deuce as well. Do we know how much involvement Oda had in the story for Ace?
He like you could almost consider it like a Weaver card, like from the way that it's been talked about, because I think he had an interview where he said like yeah, I looked it over, or like yes, I have a hand in it or something. I forget exactly how it's worded, but like yes, I'm supervising it, and it was also published by Shueisha and everything, right? So it's like official like with the One Piece series, I guess you could say, right? Like it's licensed or whatever all those words are. So that's what I say is like it's as canon. Nothing's as canon as the manga. Like there's not even a point debating that, right? Yeah, but it's as canon as like a Weaver card data book thing or stuff like that, right? So I consider it all pretty much canon, especially because it's Ace related. Like I don't think Oda would let someone just say random stuff about Ace, like one of the most important characters in the story, you know, especially for Luffy's connection, and Whitebeard. You know, it talked about Ace getting the Maramara no Mi and meeting Whitebeard and his escapades on the Spade Pirates, which, by the way, this is important for the theory. I should have mentioned this. Deuce met Rayleigh and got his ship coded and went to Fishman Island before joining Whitebeard. So he knows very well how to get down there. He knows Rayleigh already, you know, so all those things check the box, too.
Yeah. I only asked that because, like, I know it's canon and Oda's supervising and all that. I think the question that comes to mind is like, did he look at the story and be like, oh, okay, this makes sense, or was he like, hey, put this in there, put that in there, right? Because like when you look at all of these little specific things that back the theory, is like, was that a decision Oda made to kind of drop a hint, or was that just a kind of a creative thing that he approved? And that doesn't necessarily tie back into the manga eventually. Yeah, which I think is like the Shiki thing essentially.
Yeah, that's the big question. I think is you know, like I think we can all say that like those events happen. Like yes, Ace met Deuce on this island. Yes, they split the fruit, like all that. But then it's like, yeah, like okay, even though all of it happened, did it happen in the sense of like the manga is gonna pick up on it? You know what I'm saying? Because like that, like because even like whenever you watch movies, sometimes it's like ambiguous. Like with Uta, it's like okay, like Uta should be canon, but like I'm okay. It's been like a year. I don't care about spoilers. I'm sure you've seen the movie.
I've spoiled them many times already.
Yeah, Uta's dead at the end of the movie. It's like, is Uta actually dead? Right? Is she ever gonna appear back in the story as a living person, or do we take that as a canon thing? Like it's kind of ambiguous. So you know, a lot of that I think is valid, but I think the big thing, which is almost like it's kind of like the reverse side to this, like is Oda really gonna make these like characters matter this much kind of feel? The reverse side to that to me is, well, how else are you gonna have Ace and Whitebeard matter that much going forward? It's like, well, maybe Oda just doesn't, but I mean, those are like some really important characters, and if we're looking at like parallels, we're coming up on the Marineford time of post time skip, right? Like if we're just like saying like each arc is roughly a parallel or whatever, we're almost at the Marineford portion of post time skip if you look at it that way. And it's like this is the time for Ace and Whitebeard to matter again in some way. And I'm just imagining in my head, like, imagine like the emotional aspect of Deuce like coming and finding Luffy at Egghead or something, and he's like, hey, you know, like you thought, like, I don't know how he would put it, but like, you know, your brother's still here, like he had one more gift for you or whatever, and it's like the last road poneglyph, like, no, what Whitebeard and Ace are here for you, like, but they set this up, and then it's like, we would all cry, bro, like if we understood the full gist of it, you know what I'm saying? So for me, I almost can like flip it where I'm like, you're right, but also think about how good it would be like for the story. Like it's not like a random throw in, I guess is what I'm saying. Like it's a character that would matter. So yeah,
it's no doubt good. It would be you could really work in the story and create these great moments. I definitely had the question as well. It just feels like the Whitebeard pirates in general have been kind of just shoved in the background. Like, where are the rest of them? It just feels like, oh yeah, no, they're done. Yeah, they're done. Don't worry about it.
I agree. And remember, like the payback war, like which we know nothing about, but we know that happened.
It just feels like they got bodied, and that's it. Even Marco's like, yeah, man, I'm here to deliver one last gift, and I'm good.
Exactly. I totally agree. And and it's funny because like we go like with the payback war, it's like, why did that happen? Like I get like the idea that we're told, or like the thing that we are meant to believe, is just Whitebeard pirates, the remnants, wanted revenge on Blackbeard. That's like the gist of it. But what if it's actually even deeper, where that's where Blackbeard found out about the man marked by flames, right? Like that's where like they told him like what if Blackbeard had him threatened, and they're like, if you let us go, like, or like, I know you guys know where the last road poneglyph is. Where did Newgate put it? You know, like he's like, yeah, like I know you guys know, and that was the whole point of the payback war, is like, you know, you guys got to tell me. I know you have the answer. And they may have told him like a cryptic thing, like we literally don't know. All we know is that it's the man marked by flames. You know what I mean? Because like it goes back to what I said, where like Whitebeard may have told Deuce, like, nobody knows who you are. You need to be the one to go do this, because like if it's one of my crewmates and they're missing, they're gonna know, oh, go find Marco, go find Jozu. Like they, you know what I mean? Like they're missing, whatever. Yeah. But Deuce, like no one's gonna second guess that, right? So yeah, I don't know.
I like it, man. I like it. I like any way to get the Whitebeard pirates kind of work back into the story a little more, because it definitely feels like it was just like, hey, here's the payback war happened, and they're just kind of done right now. All right, we got too much going on.
I really hope that's not it, you know? Like,
yeah,
Whitebeard's got to matter more. Whitebeard is just such an amazing character. So,
for sure.
Real quick, I want to get through a couple super chats because I did miss one earlier. I think I did, at least. If I'm repeating it, I'm sorry. But Willow Gill, you super chatted another mac and cheese one, $2. You said, I'm not liking the glorification of mac and cheese. That's what the stream's all about, man. Maybe I misdid the title. This is the mac and cheese hype stream. So, also Ronnie Williams super chatted $5 about what we were talking earlier about the ties to the like U.S. government or United States in general. The Supreme Court has 9 justices, which, like, if you think about the 9 Gods Knights who literally rule over disputes between celestial dragons. Shout out 3-Day. Ronnie, thank you for the super chat. Shout out you, and shout out 3-Day for thinking of the idea. But yeah, because like the 9 and wait, and don't they? Oh man, this is crazy too. Because whenever they issue rulings, sometimes I think they even call it like the shadow docket or something, where like they don't even like go out and publicly say what the ruling is. They just like reveal like a document. It could be like a similar thing where, because I like I said earlier, like I think they're shadows, or like they're tied to shadow manipulation or something. And that I mean, we're really reading deep into the U.S. stuff, but I like it. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Why not?
And then also, Ronnie, I saw earlier, it doesn't show it on Streamlabs, but I saw you gifted more memberships, bro. Let me find it. 5 more memberships. 5, man, Ronnie. Wani.
MVP, man.
Wani Williams, man. That's my guy. I appreciate you, bro, really. Majins, Rocket League dude, Fatal, Krishna, and Anomic. Hey, welcome to the Afro Gang. I appreciate y'all. I see Ronnie's on his great cleansing vibe right now. He's cleansing all the gray names from the chat so they're all green or blue. I love it, man. Thank you, really. That really means a lot, for real. Ronnie, if you want to go ahead and plug a link to the Nakama Discord, definitely feel free. I chat over in Ronnie's Discord quite a bit, so if you guys join his, you might catch me in there. Probably like a couple times a week, honestly. Whether it's One Piece or basketball or whatever. And let's see here. Mr. Bushido with a 10 euro super chat. The Celestial Dragons have bomb collars for slaves. What if the knights have collars on them, forcing them to fight? And if they die, the bodies are destroyed. P.S. Shiki will be the big bad. His plan is still in action. well, let's talk about the Shiki thing real quick. I think Shiki will appear in the story. Like, I would be shocked if he doesn't appear. Now, does he have some grandmaster plan that actually,
I just don't feel like there's room for it.
That's what I would say. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like, I can see him showing up, and talking about the Rocks Pirates and being prevalent. But for his plan to be like one of the actual master plans of the end game, I mean, Oda would have to have a master class on writing for me to not feel like that's weird,
The thing is, his story left on a weird, because it is canon, right?
Yes.
That he left where he was like, I'm gonna get you guys, like I'm gonna come back,
and he fought.
So like
the
fact that his story ends like that, it's like, oh, he's gotta, like, you can't just leave it like that, right? But now we're like Final Saga, and like he's his own individual party. Like, how is he gonna work in here and be like, it's my turn,
Exactly. Yeah, I can't, because like, for instance, if his whole plan is like Blackbeard, like maybe he's the one who influenced Blackbeard and tricked him and all that, and maybe that's part of all this. For me, I would be like, bro, like, Blackbeard has been my guy since day one,
right?
And you're
like,
telling me it's Shiki. Like, Blackbeard's literally my favorite non-Straw Hat character in the story. And it's not even like I hate Shiki. Like, I have nothing against the guy. It's just like, I want Blackbeard's plans to be Blackbeard's.
Yeah, he can't outshine like a villain that's been built up since like Jaya,
Yeah, but
or even earlier in Drum Island.
But I do think at a bare minimum we'll get a decent. I don't know if I'd call it Shiki lore, but I think we'll get a little bit of, like, back in the day, Shiki was trying to do this, this, and this. And, like, maybe the plans, like, influenced someone else in the story. Like, maybe Blackbeard was influenced by Shiki's plans or something. Like, I could see that, like, where Shiki does matter. But I just don't want him actually pulling the strings. That's, like, that's the main thing. Like, I'd be cool if maybe he showed up at Hachinosu and was like, all right, it's time to do my plan, Garp. And then he gets, like, fodderized, because, like, Blackbeard's so strong. Something like that. I don't even want to say fodder. I don't want to make him seem like he's bad, but just, like, he thinks he has a plan, but then Blackbeard's like, dude, my plan's 5 times better than, maybe. But
yeah. But, like, at that point, I feel like, is that even worth it for him to just come back and just get, just get worked out the story instantly? I feel like even in that in itself, I feel like he just gets shoehorned in, and then Oda's just like, kind of forgot about this. Let's
exactly.
Let's just wrap this up real quick.
Exactly. But I will say, because I know you saw Lafro Tale, so a big thing I like about Shiki is during Strong World, like at the start, a big storm is coming in, and he goes, "It's an afro," and then they like shut the door. And it's just, I know it sounds kind of memey, but it's like, remember, the D's bring a storm. That's like the saying. And a storm came rolling in that Shiki and all of his navigators said was not coming. Like, Nami was like, hey, it's coming, everyone watch out. And Shiki's like, no, it's not, you're wrong. And then like it appears, and that's why he says it's an afro. So I mean, I got respect for Shiki, but yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I wouldn't want him to be like a major player.
Yeah.
Also, Ronnie, my guy, 5 more memberships, bro. I appreciate you, man. I saw you last night at King Recon stream going off with the memberships, and now you're here today, bro. Man, thank you. The generosity is insane, man. Seriously. That stream last night was hype, by the way, Ronnie. I mean, everyone who was there probably knows, but King Recon was feeling that chapter. It was amazing. Love King Recon, man. Coach. He was a little late though because he was watching the Lakers game. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But shout out D-Raj, Mugiwara Major, sorry. Vin, Joel Leet, and Pastel Meadow. Hey, welcome to the Afro Gang, guys. Like I said, tomorrow night, if you guys are free, I'm gonna watch the anime episode and I think I might like edit some thumbnails or something for my future videos because I got some art done, so you guys can kind of get a sneak. I don't know, something. We'll do something fun. Maybe play a game. I don't know. But I appreciate you guys. And then there was one other one. 1 second. LJ916. Could Loki maybe be the man marked by flames after he fought Shanks with his fire sword, who then kicked him off Elbaf? Which is why Kid went there looking for Loki, but instead encountered Shanks again. I'll say this. As for the second part, I think, you know, because like they pulled the straws or whatever, so Kid like is like fate that Kid got sent to Elbaf, so I don't think he was purposely trying to show up there or anything like that. Like he wasn't even purposely trying to attack Shanks. You know what I mean? Like he just
he just randomly
pulled up.
It's just Kid's role, isn't it?
That's it's just how it is, man. The second we saw them pulling things, we should have said Shanks is at that island. Like, well, if you want to know where Shanks is, see where Kid's going. You know. But as for the Loki being the man marked by flames, that's actually another idea where it's like, you know, we don't know much about Loki other than at least I feel like he has to matter. Like he has to be
for sure.
Not that he has to be like insanely powerful or anything like that, but like even with Big Mom's flashback, we know he's important. He's the Prince of Elbaf, right? And pretty much every island we go to, the prince or princess matters a lot. They're like our main friend in the arc, pretty much, right? Like Pudding isn't a princess, but she's probably like the equivalent of that in Whole Cake. You know what I'm saying? So like every arc, we meet someone who is like, you know, an underling of the royalty or whatever of the kingdom, and we befriend them and we maybe change them a little, they change us a little, and whatever. So Loki mattering that much, like I'm honestly not against it because it's just he does have like that kind of narrative weight. Now whether it is the man marked by flames or it's something else would remain to be seen. What do you think?
Yeah, Loki's been one I've been pretty locked on to in terms of Elbaf, given you know, just in terms of like ties to mythology and everything, how big of a character Loki is in general. Yeah, Loki's gonna be. I'm not exactly sure the man marked by flames, like the prince being that.
Yeah,
will be kind of. I feel like that would be even more obvious than Dragon, like the Prince of Elbaf being the man marked by flames. I'm not sure if he's and plus he's a giant, right? Like it's kind of hard to miss.
Yeah, like with Saul, like it's not Saul, so it's Loki. It's like it could be a human, but
but yeah, no, he's definitely gonna be important with Elbaf. The one thing I've always wondered is like, I feel like Oda's not gonna miss a chance to do Ragnarok. That's just like such a big event, and Loki's in the forefront of that in mythology. So I think he's gonna be involved in there pretty heavily. But it's just like, how are you gonna do? Like Vikings was one of the biggest inspirations, like one of the biggest reasons Oda did a story about pirates, and now we're heading to Elbaf. You know, something's been built up since Little Garden, and like Ragnarok, it just feels like he's gonna have too much fun doing that to miss out on it.
I agree, and I saw someone else mention this in the chat. Who was it? Tiante Black. You mentioned if it's Loki, it's got to be like an Odin in the One Piece story, like Odin, Odin, Odin. And this is actually something I've been bringing up, where I think Oda might be juxtaposing Odin from Wano and Odin from Norse mythology and combine them for Loki. So what I mean by that is, like, you know, Odin was like the heir to the throne. He didn't like the way the kingdom was ran. He didn't like the borders. He wanted to leave and go experience the world. And then he came back and wanted to help everyone, right? That's like that's the general story. And then Odin is like the most important person in like Norse mythology, like period, pretty much. There's a lot of them, but pretty much. And so I'm wondering if that's maybe the story here, like maybe Loki, kind of like Odin, doesn't like the way his royalty's running. He wants to leave. He wants to like go experience the sea and all that. And then, but he's meant to become like Odin, like the god. You know, so like right now he's Odin, but he will become Odin is like the idea that I'm thinking of. And and I think it makes a lot of sense too, because Kid just showed up, and I'm not saying at all that Kid is Whitebeard level at all, like not even coolness or temperament, but Whitebeard crashed and didn't have a ship at Wano and met Odin. Did Kid crash his ship, or he didn't really crash, it got obliterated, but you know what I mean? Crashed his ship at Elbaf, and now does he meet Loki? And so Kid and Loki team up, and I say team up loosely, like it's probably more of like a, hey, aren't you the guy who beat Big Mom? And he's like, yeah, what of it? And it's like, I hate her. Like, you know, because like with the marriage stuff.
True.
And so they team up, and it could be a thing where like, hey, you can take me out to sea, right? And it's, yeah. And then and then what if we find out Loki's actually a boss? Because think about this. Kid sucks at hockey. I've always said this. Like, Kid, whenever people talk about hockey, Kid's like, why are you guys talking about the NHL? Like that, like, you know what I'm saying? That's like that's like Kid's vibe, bro. He does not like even if Kaido said he has conquerors, that's the only that's the hockey. That's his biggest hockey feat in the story, is Kaido saying. So, but we know that Elbaf, or the Giants, are really good at hockey. If we look at Dorian Bragi, who did, you know, Big Mom and Kaido's ocean sovereignty thing, right? Or whatever it is. And so what if Loki is able to teach that hockey to Kid, basically, or just be a force on his crew in general, right? Because now he doesn't have like a scrub crew to fight with. And so then that could be how Kid actually gets back to prominence, is Loki is able to show him, you know, these are the basics of hockey, bro. Like, you know, I can't believe you can make rail guns and you can't use armament, you know. So
I feel like that would make people pity him even more. Like, this man's like getting Rayleigh lessons like an end
this
game.
late. Well, and I would only, because I agree, but what I would only like it if we had a full breakdown of Kid. Like, Kid completely broke down, realized he's not what he thought it was, and also. Shout out Randy Troy for bringing this up, because I 100% agree with him. He's got to retaliate to Heat and Wire for giving up the poneglyph rubbings that quickly. He's got to do something. He can't just be like, I get it, guys. Like, you were going to die. No. Bro, that is the opposite of what the Straw Hats do. Like, the Straw Hats would fight tooth and nail for those rubbings the entire time. Unless Luffy specifically said, leave them, I don't want you guys to die, they would never do it, right? They know how, like, Luffy's dream relies on those things, right? They would never do it. And so I would love if, like, Kid has a full breakdown, you know, is like, you guys get out, I don't want you here anymore, and like he literally kicks them off his crew or something. Because then we have like a little bit of a moment where it's like, okay, Kid is finally realizing he's a scrub and he needs to change stuff, which, like, for me, that has to happen for him to matter at all. There has to be an acknowledgement of him sucking. You know what I mean? Like, I need to see it. Yeah. And then he can come back. But until that happens, I don't, you know, be weird.
I've always said with Kid, it's not the powers. Like, I don't care too much about the powers. It's just, there's no reason to care about this man. There's no reason to care about. Like, Law also just he lost. But like, nobody really, I mean, he didn't lose as bad. But like, people care about Law because we know his story. We know his personality. Kid's entire personality has been like, I'm going to compete with Luffy. And he just keeps losing. Like, we just don't know anything about him. Yeah.
Everywhere. And he even has rumors that he lost where he didn't lose. Like Big Mom's territory. Like, people are like, didn't you lose over there? It's like, literally the rumors are that he loses more than he does, you know? Man. So yeah, man. I want to, like I said, I just want to see a moment of reflection. Maybe kick Heat and Wire off the crew. Just a whole thing where it's like, I really messed up. I was in over my head. I need to adjust. And most importantly, it sounds like basic kind of, but I just want him to really sit there and be like, I need to learn hockey. Like, it sounds like the most basic thing, but I just want the acknowledgement, you know? Like, I thought I could get through with brute strength alone. And, I mean, which is funny because hockey is kind of like brute strength, I guess. Like, sort of. But yeah, I don't know.
At the same time, I feel like it's one of those things where, like, Oda just has some combat styles locked into certain characters. Like, I've pretty much given up on the Straw Hats learning hockey. Because, like, after it didn't really happen in Wano, I was just like, all right, this is probably, like, Robin's just going to be a Devil Fruit-based person, you know? Yeah. Like, Brook is just going to keep using his Devil Fruit. I don't really think hockey's going to come into play this late for them. Yeah. So Kid might be just that. It might be just one of those aesthetic things for Oda.
Yeah. I mean, it would be kind of cool if Kid and Loki, like, what if Loki's like, I can teach you hockey in 2 weeks, or just something like that. There's some kind of little thing, and we get like a mini montage, but it's like, that's while like Luffy has to make it there, right? So basically by the time Luffy gets there, Kid is like way stronger. And then, and not at all saying Luffy's going to lose to Kid. There's a 0% chance. But it could be a thing where Luffy actually learns a new technique that Kid learned from Loki. You know what I'm saying? So like, so Kid learns the Koku sovereignty thing, which like Luffy kind of already knows a little bit. Like, he can like hit people without touching them. But I don't know if Luffy can send out like a whole beam with his punch. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he can send like a hockey beam out. So maybe that's what he learns, is like, Like, and so Emu can shoot laser beam things, right? And so what if Luffy literally learns how to use Ikoku sovereignty, but like in a punch, and then that battles Emu's beam, right? And, but it could all be from Kid, and again, Kid would lose. That'd be like the lesson there, but you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I am interested because like I still perceive Loki as most likely like not a good guy, but not even like in the Kid type of way. I feel like the standard would probably be that he's gonna be a problem in Elbaf. I feel like there might be some political issues in Elbaf in terms of you know, just like how they're in terms of their culture and like how we even saw it in Little Garden a little bit, right? By the end of that battle where Dory and Broggy get manipulated, they're like, what's going on? They're the belief that they've had for like hundreds of years kind of got shook in that moment. Yeah. Where they were like, is this what it was like? Why? Like, I thought this was the way, right? So I feel like that's got to be a conflict when we actually get to Elbaf and come through. And I feel like Loki's probably involved in that in some way, because even in that, you know, the silhouette, he definitely didn't look like a good guy handing out that flower to Lola, right? So the fact that you're playing him into like this friendly role with Kid, where he's not like an antagonist, but like kind of like just indifferent in a way, is interesting, I think.
I agree. There, I want some like political conflict, and that's kind of what I want. Is like Kid's like, or Loki's like, you know, I don't like, because remember, Kid was just trying to attack Elbaf, right? He was trying to like shoot laser beams at the island. Yeah. And so if Loki teams up with him, that tells you right there that Loki probably doesn't like Elbaf that much, or like the current regime at least of Elbaf. Because why would you team up with someone who is trying to attack your island? Now, you know, Shanks is the only one who saw that future, I guess. Maybe he doesn't fully understand that, but I feel like Loki would be able to put 2 and 2 together. And then tying back to the Big Mom stuff, it could just be like, hey, we both hate the same people. Like you hate Big Mom, I hate Big Mom. You hate the Giants, I hate the Giants. Let's do it. And I saw a chat from hold on, Tiante, what'd you say? Loki's not going down to the lowest realm just to train Kid. Hey, hey, listen. You know, Loki thinks Kid is probably the shit. You know what I mean? Like, Loki probably holds Kid in high regard.
Like, wait a minute.
For the reverse.
Yonko.
Yes. For,
3 billion.
It's for the exact reverse reason of what we were memeing on him earlier, where we said, like, even when he wins, he gets made fun of because, like, of Whole Cake. Like, he got the poneglyph rubbing, but people thought he lost there, right? Like, they even said, like, didn't you lose in Whole Cake or something? He's like, no, we got what we wanted. You know, like, so it's like, you know, the rumors and stuff don't paint him in a very good light. But the one that does is that he beat Big Mom. But we all know how that really went. Like, Law had a probably over, I would 90 probably percent of fans would say over 50% involvement in that fight. You know, was Law, you know, doing internal damage and everything. So, so that it could be another thing where, like, yeah, like Loki might think he's the shit because he beat Big Mom when really Kid, you know, didn't do all that much. I mean, he you know, did something. He, you know, not a lot of people could do the damage to Big Mom that Kid did. But still, obviously, he doesn't deserve the praise of beating Big Mom. That's like not really, you know. So I would like that if Loki has, like, you know, holds Kid to a higher regard than he should, which is the opposite of how we feel, right? Because we've seen all the truth behind it. So I would really like that, honestly. And
the Big Mom angle is a good one because, like, yeah, given that he's the perception of him is that he could be even seen as a savior at first, and you could kind of just take advantage of that.
Yeah, because it could even be that, like, whenever, like him sinking in the ocean right now, I mean, Loki could save him, or maybe even the Giants from the island are like, hey, like, we probably got to lock him up because, like, he's evil, but, like, he kind of beat, like, our least favorite person on Earth, so, you know, it'd be wrong for us to let him die right in front of us, you know. So let's see, growth, or actually, hold on, sorry, I'll get to yours in a second. Will of Gil super chatted $5 again. Thank you, bro. Memberships only stream watching the last series of the NBA Finals. That is a good idea. Also, my Suns are winning it all next year. Sun God Booker will arrive to bring the dawn. I'm gonna be real with you, Gil. As long as you got KD on your team, you're cooked. I'm gonna be real. I'm a KD hater. I'll happily admit it. I do like KD for saying that his mom was the real MVP and she was a male woman, and my mom delivers mail. So we got a little bit of a connection there, but it's not enough. You know, I like the Suns. I'm cool with the Suns winning. You know, I hate Chris Paul, to be honest, but you know, what do you think about the Suns?
They're too old with not enough depth.
Yep.
We saw it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's hard to like turn down the opportunity to get Kevin Durant on your team. So like I can understand why they did the trade. But Michael Bridges, man. Like
I mean, he turned into KD after.
That's what I'm saying. He was like the defensive KD before that, and he never missed a game and shit. So I'm just like, man, I mean, I'm not saying I would take Michael Bridges over KD straight up, but I would definitely take Michael Bridges and 5 first-round picks over KD, because you can go trade the 5 first-round
Cam Johnson
picks.
too.
And Cam Johnson, bro, man, I want Cam Johnson to go to my Cavs. It won't happen, but that's like an ideal person for a team.
You guys need some wings.
We need wings, shooting, and defending, bro. Please. I mean, well, man, what we really need is a new head coach, bro. That's what we really need.
Man, he was doing so well.
He has a place in the league forever. He has a spot in my heart forever, but he's not a playoff coach right now, and we need one right now. That's where I'm at. You know, he can go to another young team that's like on the precipice of the play-in and stuff, and like grow a little more with his playoff resume. And I love JB, man, but I mean, just the team came out so flat, bro. I have no one other. I have to blame the coach.
That was outside of, I would say, the Heat Bucks one. Like we knew the series was gonna be competitive, but like just got worked.
Yeah, I mean, Giannis got hurt. That's like, I mean, and the Heat were still playing well, you know, even outside of that, you know. But because it's funny, because like Giannis missed game 2 and the Bucks blew out the Heat in game 2, and then Giannis like came back injured and they lost the rest of the game. So it's, you know, it's like, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's tough right now. But I guess as far as the Suns go, Gil, like y'all here, I'll tell you what y'all got to do. Y'all got to trade CP3 because his contract's only partially guaranteed. You trade him. I don't know what you get for him, but I'm sure there's some team dying for a point guard. Yeah, you need a new coach. Well, hey, you got Coach Bud. You got Monty. Or no, I'm gonna say Monty Williams. That's who that's who I've been talking about. Not my favorite choice, but for the Cavs. But no, Nick Nurse is still available. So there's some good choices. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this though, Booker, Sun God Booker, that's a valid take. That's just that's a valid name for him.
He killed it. He killed it.
He's a beast. He's just one of the most solid basketball players in the league, honestly. And then growth. Actually, hold on. Wasn't there like another membership from Ronnie? Hold on. Let me see. Am I missing that? No, I don't think so. No, I think I said that one. Okay, cool. It doesn't show up on Streamlabs. It's really weird. Growth Stonks with the $5 super chat. Sunbell could be the man marked by flames. The road poneglyph was previously in Fishman Island. He has a flame tattoo, and Fishman can create whirlpools on demand. Well, real quick, I'm going to push back on the last part, that Fishman can create whirlpools on demand, because I've heard that a lot. The only time we've ever seen it, it took the entire Sun Pirates to go make one. Like, they had to go get in the water.
Yeah, they had a whole squad.
Yes. So you know, like on demand, like the person would have to jump out of the ship and start swimming around in circles a bunch. And not saying it's impossible. I'm not completely wrong. It could be like the best swimming fishman of all time. You know what I mean? Or like the strongest one. But you know, just off the top of my head, I would be shocked if it was just a fishman creating the whirlpools automatically. You know.
Sunbell at Fish, that's even higher odds than Mass Deuce. He's going for the home run there. Yeah,
I have heard it, because I think I've heard a lot of theories where like Roger Pirates, or even like Whitebeard Pirates, which I'm saying that now with Deuce, I guess, but a lot of these pirates from the past are like trying to have big roles in the current time. And kind of like what we were saying, like, does Mass Deuce really hold enough weight to be the man with the last road poneglyph? For me, if Sunbell had the final road poneglyph, I'm scared for the rest of the story, bro. Like, Gein's gonna be Emu, you know, like that's how I feel. So, not completely trying to like take it down, but the main thing with Fishmen is the whirlpool. Like, that's like why a lot of people bring it up, and I can't see, unless I've heard this is actually a really interesting idea. I think it was Lubu kill you. I think it was you. If it's not you and it was someone else, I apologize. Maybe it was TJ. I think it was Lubu. Where they said, remember the Kraken in Fishman Island? what was his name?
Sarume.
And the new Fishman pirates like talked about like torturing his brother or something, right? Like if you don't listen, bro. And so Sarume's brother is under the ship creating the whirlpools is the idea. Which I'm like,
I love it.
I'm like, all right, if it's gonna be a fishman or a fish or whatever, it's got to be that. I don't know. So, but yeah, I will say this though. I could eat crud on everything I just said because I feel like the man marked by flames. It's gonna be a surprising pick no matter what. So I don't know. We'll see. And then Caleb Brown super chatted $5. So we know Luffy and Blackbeard are two sides of the same coin, and we know that Luffy's dream isn't what we thought. So we can assume the same is true for Blackbeard. Well, for Luffy's dream, we just don't know what it is yet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he has two different ones, I guess, is the idea. Like, it's not. I guess what you mean is it's not just becoming the Pirate King. There's something more to it. So does Blackbeard have more to his arsenal than creating Blackbeard Kingdom or whatever it is? And I'll say this much: I definitely do not think Blackbeard's main goal is becoming a king of Blackbeard Kingdom or like
no.
That
was kind of out of left field. I even think.
Yeah. Oh.
To be like, yeah. It's like, wait, why is that your main mission right now?
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way Kobe's listening to this. Like, oh yeah. Like I'm sure that's all you want. I'm sure you went and got multiple devil fruits, killed Whitebeard. I'm sure you became a warlord and snuck an impel down, all to become a king, which you could have done outside of all of that. You didn't even need to do this. So I'm sure Kobe is perceptive enough. And I definitely agree, Caleb Brown. I think Blackbeard's goal is just to like take over the world. Like, I don't know if it has to be that much more in depth. Like, Oda can probably just cook with. His goal is to become Emu is probably the actual thing, right? Which go ahead.
I was gonna say, speaking of parallels, like that's another thing we thought about is like we got this parallel of obviously like Luffy to Roger to Joy Boy, Vivi to Lily. What we were just thinking of, like, what is the Blackbeard? Because it goes probably most definitely Blackbeard to Rocks,
right? And
then Rocks. Who's the
Emu?
like D version of Rocks back in the day? Is that actually Eam or is that another character?
I love that.
Was their thing within it all, right? Because it's all kind of trickling down, right? We're kind of seeing just this new generation of the past.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. I think I was literally thinking about that like as I was like drifting to sleep last night or like in the shower or something. Because I think about One Piece every time I'm doing anything in life. And yeah, because it's like because you have Joy Boy, Roger, Luffy, and like if you use the same time frames and look at their like main villains, Emu, Rocks, Blackbeard, and then that leads to the question of, okay, we talk about Lily. Is Emu basically a Blackbeard from the past who took over Lily's body because they were a queen or whatever? And then after taking over Lily's body, it's like, oh, hey, guess what? I have these crazy powers that could end the world, so make me the king or else. And like, that's the gist of it. I'm sure there's like way more cool things Oda can do with it, to make it even deeper. But I like that probably the most of every Emu idea is that it's just the Blackbeard or Rocks of the past, like far distant past, but they either took over Lily's body or they just killed Lily and just take on a different form or whatever. I like that a lot, I'll be honest. And I feel like it's going to be that loosely. Like, I don't know how, because then that also builds the question of like, what's Blackbeard's role going forward? Like, is Blackbeard are Blackbeard and Luffy gonna beat Emu together, or does Luffy beat Emu and then Blackbeard's the actual villain, or does maybe Luffy clash with Emu, realize they can't win, Blackbeard goes and beats Emu, takes over, and then they have to go beat Blackbeard, who is now Emu? Like, I don't know. That's like one of the ultimate questions for me, is how that all pans out.
The order of everything, right?
Yeah. That's where Oda's gonna be deep in his bag, dude. For me,
for sure.
And let's see. Bad Rap Sample super chatted $2. Heat and 5. What are your thoughts on that?
Nah. Heat and 5 would be crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost the series because the Celtics just like to fuck around.
Yes, they do.
Heat like winning in like 4 or 5 would be the only thing that would shock me.
I agree, and
because the fact they even made it this far is crazy. Like,
and they're up 1-0.
Just look at the roster. They're like, they lost Harrow, they lost Oladipo. Like, they're just getting so much production out of these guys. Kyle Lowry, like, looked completely washed, and now he's just like winning playoff games.
It's insane, dude. Yeah, if I was a betting man, I'd have to take the Celtics. But the zombie heat, bro. Like we said before the stream, I think it was before the stream. Eric Spoelstra might have Moria's devil fruit and just, you know what I'm saying? It's just zombies.
That's what he's cooking out there.
Like, oh, Tyler Hero, you're injured. Let me just pop your shadow into Gabe Vincent. Yeah, exactly. That's so funny. We said the same person. Like Duncan Robinson. Like, it's like the Monstars from Space Jam.
Dusted him off.
Yeah. It's like, bro, I don't even know.
Cody Zeller's playing minutes for them. Like,
it's so crazy, dude. I mean, I'll say this though. I mean, okay, well, Popovich is immortalized forever, but if we just remove him from the equation because it's not fair to even include him, Eric Spoelstra is by far the best coach in the league. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh yeah,
it's not even close.
Not a coach of the year to his name either.
Yeah,
crazy,
and that's why he's the best. Because I don't know if you've seen the coach of the year curse. Like every time you get you're fired within like 2 years. Yeah. Like Monty, right? Monty this year, he was coach of the year 2 years ago. Bud. There's a lot of Nick Nurse. I think his first year he won coach of the year. I think. So yeah, it's looking bad for a lot of them. But yeah, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Heat win. I would just if five is bold.
And 5 would be because like I just think the Celtics are clearly much more talented than them.
Yeah,
like for them to go out on 5 would be a huge mental collapse, or the Heat like shoot 50% from 3 for the series or something like
exactly. And I want to ask you this too. What are your thoughts on Jason Tatum being Jekyll and Hyde? You know what I'm saying? Like it's like if the dude drops 51 in Game 7, but then can't hit the broadside of a barn the next game or like the game before that. You know,
like here's where I always go back with Tatum though. I think Tatum, his success has started to go against him. Because he's 25 years old. You look at someone like Devin Booker, who just went on this crazy run where he was insanely consistent, right?
Yeah.
Every game, like 30, up until that elimination game, practically. He was just dropping like 30 to 40 every game. And you don't really get that from Tatum outside. Like, he'll have 30-pointers, but like some quarters are looking iffy, and then he'll drop like a stinker in between, but then he'll drop like 50 in an elimination game. Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay, like Devin Booker, you probably kind of prefer Devin Booker to Tatum right now. Even right now, you look at the two of them, they seem comparable, but Booker's got 2 years on Tatum still. Yeah. Like so I think that it's just like, because we've seen Tatum so often now, like 4 or 5 Eastern Conference Finals, 1 Finals appearance. It's like he should be learning by now, but like he's still only 25 is the thing. Fair. Like LeBron James at 26 dropped that stinker against the Mavs, right? So like, it's just like, it is what it is. He's still youthful right now. You would hope he could figure it out by now because he's had so much experience. But sometimes it's just like they're too early.
I'm with you. It's he has a lot on his plate for like he's being asked of things like a LeBron level player, and he's very good, but he's probably not LeBron level. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like he's like he's like like a little bit under that. And I feel like that's the thing, is like we're expecting him to be like LeBron and like those like all-time GOATs. And he's only 25. You got, like LeBron. The reason why LeBron was like the GOAT, like the first second he started an NBA game, was because he's a once in a lifetime player. Like, you know what I'm like, it's not even fair to compare that. Like Jason Tatum, like most people would kill for that production, you know, that he has, even if it is up and down. So, but
like at the end of the day, you look at his success, he's still gone further than like Jokic and Embiid and like all of these other guys that have been in the league longer than him.
And last Celtics question for you is, what do you think is going to happen to Jaylen Brown?
Listen, I don't think he'll turn down $300 million because he's made All NBA. Yeah. We should offer him that contract. If he turns that down, then I'd be shocked.
Well, what if he demands sign and trade? Because then he can get the money, but then he can pick his team also.
But the sign and trade wouldn't happen this offseason because he's got 2 years left still. We can extend him this year, or like technically like a year left for after this year or something. I think he has 2 years left.
I thought it was an option this coming off season.
No, he doesn't have an option.
I thought that was it.
So yeah, when he signed his contract, like he was coming off of that really bad Kyrie year.
Well, the reason is because I know everyone wants him to like go to the Rockets. That's like the main thing.
Yeah,
I see.
I've seen the photoshopped images and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it happens. I think like the amount of success that even he's had now, like,
because he's playing really well. That's why I brought it up. He's playing better than Tatum. If you're going on average, I would say like Tatum.
Offensively, he's way more consistent.
Yeah.
But I don't think he turns. I think we offer him that supermax and he signs it. And then we just have to worry about the money later.
Yeah, and I will say this: just speaking of Houston, Harden is going back to Houston. it's like a foregone conclusion.
I did that. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and I'm scared of Houston, bro. Like all the assets they have, they just got to make a couple trades, man, and their team's gonna be sick. Like they have so many young players. Just I don't know who's available, but.
They do, but they've been playing like losing basketball for like 3 years now.
Just swap out all the players.
Harden's not really gonna change that, I don't think. I know they just hired Ime Udoka, but like it's gonna take a lot more work for them.
Because I mean they got Jalen Smith, right? I can't remember the name. Jalen Smith, is that his name? I can't remember.
Jabari
Smith. Something Smith. Jabari Smith.
Jalen
Green. So many names. And then Şengün and. Whoever, right? They have also, and then the pick this year, like the 4th pick, right? I think it's the 4th. So point is that I think they could package all of that, and like if they get Harden, they probably want to keep Jabari Smith because he was playing extremely well at the end of the year. But I could see them packaging like Jalen Green picks and whatever, and get like. I don't know who would want out. It's like too early to say, I feel like, but somebody's going to want out like they always do in the offseason.
Yeah.
Like
it would have to be somebody like Dame though. Like the Jaylen Brown wouldn't make sense because the Celtics still have Tatum and they're still competing.
Right.
We need a player back at least, Like Jalen Green's not going to help you win a championship.
Yeah, Dame. I think Dame's getting moved. I know everyone's saying that
Beal is still somehow in Washington there.
Yeah, which
chilling.
he actually has a no trade clause, so you can't even get him.
Oh yeah, wild.
Which man, if I'm the Wizards, man, I'm firing that GM. But all right, I want to get into one last kind of big One Piece topic for you. It's a theory. I don't know if you've heard it at all, but it's a theory that Randy, Troy, and I came up together actually on stream. And I was reminded of it from Caleb Brown's super chat, where like Blackbeard's end goal, like what is his true dream or what is he trying to do? And basically the theory that Randy and I cooked up, we call it Reassemble Joy Boy. I don't know if we have like a new name for it, but that's kind of what I've been rolling with. But basically, all the poneglyphs have like a voice, right? Like we've heard, like Roger was able to like hear what the poneglyph was saying, and that kind of led us down a path of like, why does Blackbeard want Boa's fruit? He wants Boa's fruit. That's like a key part to his plan.
Yeah.
He even tried to get Moria on his crew, which like isn't necessarily a huge thing, but it's just like Oda, just plot wise, Oda's trying to bring Moria's powers into the fold for Blackbeard. Right, which is weird because Moria's powers are extremely important because the government tried getting it. Both like Doflamingo was supposed to kill him, and the orders came from higher up than Sengoku, and also like there's just the fact that Kuma was sent to Thriller Bark in general tells you that like they're keeping an eye on that fruit. Like they don't want that fruit to go anywhere. And so basically, and Blackbeard captured him. It doesn't seem like Moria wants to work with him, right? Because he had to be captured, which like isn't something you would do to a new crewmate. So, but remember, Blackbeard, or at least part of his crew, is pulling up to Egghead, where all the Seraphim are, and we haven't seen them yet, but one of those Seraphim should be S. Gecko, okay? There's S. Snake, there's S. Snake, and S. Gecko. If Blackbeard wants Boa's powers and Moria's powers, he doesn't even need Boa and Moria. He can go get the Seraphim and control them, right? So, that's where we were thinking. Our whole mindset was, what is Blackbeard trying to do with Boa's fruit and the shadow fruit? Like why? And so then that led us to the poneglyphs, which are giant stones. It's like, does Blackbeard want to do something with the poneglyphs? And then that led us down the idea of, what if all the poneglyphs are actually Joy Boy's body? And so long time ago, Joy Boy was turned to stone and cut into 30 pieces, and those stones that are his body are now the poneglyphs. That's why they're indestructible, is because Joy Boy is a tough, guy or whatever. He's strong, hockey, whatever it is. And so whenever he's turned to stone, it's probably like some, indestructible stuff. Also, there's 4 road poneglyphs. There's 4 chambers to the heart. And so maybe those were his heart. And so what if Blackbeard's goal is to assemble all the poneglyphs, put them back together, use the, like, I know Boa said, like, I can't turn people who were turned to stone in the past back, but I feel like there's a way around that, like whether it's awakening or she's just lying, whatever it is. And so then Blackbeard assembles all the poneglyphs, puts them together, uses that fruit to turn it back into a body, and then you have Joy's body back, and then you just got to put a shadow into it, and then it's Ors from Thriller Bark round 2, but it's the real Joy Boy.
That would be crazy. Where would this go down though? Like where?
Maybe
all of us in Black
Wano.
Beard just post Wano,
where Onigashima is, Joy Boy's skull. That's why Blackbeard couldn't go to Wano, or why Shanks was like, I could have swore he was going to Wano. What if he was going to start by like getting the skull and like bringing the skull? I don't know how it would all work. Like maybe maybe like Pizarro has something to do with it, maybe because he can like become the, I don't know. But either way, he probably wanted to go get Boa's fruit and then go right to Wano, but because he didn't get the fruit, that's why he didn't go, and why Shanks is like, I thought he was going there for sure, but no, Kobe interrupted it, which is like, that brings into a whole storyline thing where Luffy influencing Kobe all those years ago ended up influencing this situation, so that Blackbeard didn't go to Wano when he planned to, and like delayed the plans, and maybe that'll matter.
Kind of saved him in a little bit.
And so then we'll have a giant, it's like Joy Boy, so like, Luffy brings Joy Boy back by being him, like bringing the will back and awakening the fruit, so bringing Joy Boy back in the way that he's probably supposed to be brought back. Or then Blackbeard brings Joy Boy back like by cheating
physically.
And I could even see a situation where he puts Joy Boy's shadow into it, because then it's Joy Boy's body with Luffy, aka Joy Boy. So then you literally have Joy Boy back again,
reincarnated. That would be wild. That would be wild.
Because that's like circumventing a lot of like bringing dead people back stuff, which like Oda has done a good job of avoiding for the most part, and like people really don't want. It's like you're avoiding that by like melding the two worlds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Nah, it would like, because the Blackbeard Pirates versus the Straw Hats is already such a crazy battle. And you think about, you got like Robin who could go giant. Now you got somebody who can control an island. San Juan Wolf, who's practically an island. If now, like, I was always picturing this like Godzilla, King Kong scale battle going down when these two groups go down. And then now if you got like a little Joy Boy is reincarnated, like.
and here's where I'm really trying to link it for like a major, because like all we have is the VOD, and Randy and I, like, I think Randy's going to do a video. I need to do a video eventually too, but where I really want to tie all of this together is back to Emu. So we talked earlier about like the rocks, or Blackbeard rocks, Emu kind of parallel there. Well, what if bringing Joy Boy back is also Emu's goal, right? Because that's why like they see the straw hat. They don't have the rest of the body. All they have is the hat. They don't have the skull, which is Onigashima. They don't have the body, which is the Poneglyphs, whatever. And that's why they're holding Luffy's poster. It could be like they want the same thing. They maybe they love Joy Boy, or they just want to use Joy Boy. It could be either or. I think both would be valid. But it could be like that's why like Emu is looking at Luffy's poster, because it's like, oh, maybe it's almost time to like bring Joy Boy back. Like actually, like Emu could have the same goal, but maybe it could even be a triangle where Blackbeard wants to bring Joy Boy back for power, Emu for love, or maybe for some other motive, or it could even be protection. Like, I need to freeze Joy Boy's body forever so he never comes back, kind of thing. And then Luffy's obviously just doing it for the right reasons, right?
Yeah, he has the will of Joy Boy.
Exactly,
like,
the true
he's
will.
actually Joy Boy.
Yeah. So. Yeah,
that's an interesting angle.
Yeah,
the road poneglyph being the chambers of the heart, I think, is a really good connection there. But especially the Boa point, right? I feel like that's one key a lot of people missed. It's like, why did he specifically go after Boa?
Yep.
And I feel like a lot of people have been trying to figure that out, and I like it.
Yeah, thank you, Randy and I. We were like mind blown the whole time. Also.
Just like cooking it up in the middle of a stream.
Yeah, bro, that VOD has 62K views, which is like insane for a VOD. So that tells you like people must have been sharing that. Like, oh god, we just figured it out. But yeah, it's really crazy because like Blackbeard, like you said, like with Boa's fruit, we got like, why does he want that? And also, like, from Shanks' perspective, why was he going to Wano? Like, because you could presume it's to go get Pluton or something, but with the way Oda works, I bet you it's going to be something really shocking. And so it being like the skull, or even, oh my gosh, even better, it could be like that's like the skeleton, like it's the head, and then maybe even underneath it. Well, I guess he picked up the skull, so like you'd have to go back and go get the rest of it. But it could be like that whole thing's like the skeleton. You have to like fill it in with like the poneglyphs, you know what I'm saying? So he had to go get like the main part of it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot. Oh, and I also want to say this, I guess. Whenever Law removed people's hearts from their body, it came out as a cube.
Oh, true.
Isn't that crazy?
Man,
and,
yeah.
And think about Buggy, who has basically Law's powers, but in reverse, right? Like, so the way I think about it is if Buggy were to ever awaken, he'd probably be able to chop other people's bodies up like he does his own, like Law does. You know what I mean? That's kind of how Paramecia awakenings work. Yeah, and so and remember Buggy in Logtown, he was going to chop off Luffy's head, and Luffy smiles like, I'm dead. And so look back to the past. What if whoever had Buggy's fruit in the past cut off Joy Boy's head in a very similar thing, but it wasn't to kill him, like that, like he was an awakened user of the fruit, and so maybe Joy Boy's actually still alive, even like in the stones. You know what I'm saying? Because like he was never, like when he was turned to stone and chopped up. Well, like we saw in Amazon Lily, whenever you get turned to stone, you don't die. You can get turned back and you're still alive. So what if Joy Boy was like, all right, I'm going to come back in the future. What you got to do is turn me to stone, cut me up, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, so he's still alive even. And that's why like the stones still have a voice and all that. That would be...
That would also... I was going to say, that would also make sense with the apology. Yeah. Because like you would think, like, why not just like say it to them, right? If he's still alive. Yeah. If he's actually like dissected and he's like, okay, write this apology on a piece of my body, essentially. Yeah, that also adds up. Yeah. Oh man, there's so much to it, man. that's like one of those theories that like Randy and I like couldn't even talk. You know what I mean? We're like, man, I don't know. So so I'm glad you vibe with it. That's validating, I guess. It's good. Fun, man. Yeah. Okay, real quick, I got one more super chat from Bad Rap Sample. Dak, are you familiar with the Baal cycle, Baal cycle? It portrays the sea god Im, or Yam, fighting the weather god Baal. Might give you some good material. I've never heard of that ever, but if there is a sea god called Im or Im or Yam, whatever that is, I gotta look at that. That's crazy. That's like so on the nose. That's crazy. I'm definitely gonna look that up for sure. Oh, and you're also the person who said Heat and 5. Oh, awesome. Bad Rap Sample, if you're not in my Discord, you should definitely join, because like I'm definitely gonna check that out and probably, you know, mention it in there. So if you haven't joined yet, definitely join or tag me with something or whatever. But I feel like that's gonna be some good material for sure, because I'm trying to get into as much of this mythology stuff as possible, because it's always hard to tell what Oda's gonna pick. But sometimes stuff is so on the nose, it's just like, okay, this it's gotta matter somewhere. I don't know how much. So but all right, I think that's enough for this time. I think we're gonna wrap it up. Zach, man, you got any parting words, anything you want to plug to the chat or anything like that? Nah, man, just check out my channels. I'm D King. I do streams, videos, all that kind of stuff. This was really fun, man. I'm down to come and chop it up anytime. I'm sure maybe down the line have you on my channel as well. We could chop it up there. It's really fun conversation and really fun talking about the chapter and all these theories.
For sure, man. No, it was great talking to you. Like I messaged you originally, you know, I've always a fan of you for, I mean, just One Piece content in general, but you like basketball, so that was always like an inherent connection. So, so I mean, and everyone kind of told me I knew having you on here would be an easy conversation. You know, it'd be lot to talk about, easy going. So really appreciate your time, man. It was a good conversation for sure. We'll definitely link up again. That's definitely happening.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll get some group things together too, because I mean, there's so much going on. I want to get everyone's opinion. So, so hey, thank you so much, man, and thank you everyone in the chat. You guys were so generous and just awesome. I was reading your chats the whole time. Super awesome. So make sure you go check out I'm D King for sure. Make some awesome content. Also, by the way, I saw that gave the Straw Hats Devil Fruits video that has like 1 million views. Congrats on that, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's big time. That's real big time. So yeah, everyone go check them out, and remember, tomorrow, members only stream for the episode. I don't know what time exactly, but sometime around there. So, all right, guys. Appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend.